All right, all right, all right. Let's see if the sound is working from the beginning. Let me see if sound is working from the beginning. I guess I'm not up on YouTube quite yet. Um, you guys do me a favor. If you can't hear my voice out there, let me know that I'm being heard. Okay, it seems like I'm being heard. I just checked it in another tab. What do we have in store for tonight's show? I'm a few minutes late. For that, I apologize, but I almost wasn't going to do a show tonight. Kind of not feeling my greatest. Um, we're going to try to answer the question tonight. When will our men wake up? We're going to look at and try to figure out what would we be doing in a unified Africa. We're going to look at Fat Joe. You remember rapper Fat Joe? Fat Joe addresses the FBA mental illness. And we're going to look at a scenario and try to wonder, how do we stop this in our community? And that scenario has to deal with disciplining our children in school. We're going to look at what it takes to be rich already. Is it about the mineral resources beneath our feet, or is it about the people? Which one should make us rich already? If you guys can hear my voice, please drop a 1. Let me know you're hearing me. Marcus Garvey is the way he says good night. Brother Bakari's out there saying peace and black African power. Marcus Garvey is the way he says good night. Like I said, daily affirmations by Paulina's out there. She says good evening. I get a couple of 1s so you guys can hear me. That's good. So that's the first step in seeing if tonight's show is going to work or not. Reached out to EV Mux and they gave me some instructions about some extensions that need to be disabled. I disabled them, and already you guys can hear me from jump. Let's see if it works when it comes to adding people to the panel tonight. So again, we have the ability to have 12 people up here. Since it's the holiday season, you guys, all 12 of y'all can come up tonight. We'll try to get it rolling and try to get it going. Shout out to my panelists who participated last week and those who shall participate this week. Shout out to the folks in the chat. And of course, shout out to all of you in the playback who are listening during the playback. So what I'm going to do now is start the show officially. And on the other side, I'll drop Shoot the Breeze topic number 1 and introduce any and all of my panelists tonight. So do stay tuned.
Hello there, dear listener. We hope you're enjoying this lovely discussion. If you're not already aware, this show is part of a podcast network called KWAZ Radio, a Pan-African nationalist and Garveyite network committed to showcasing the rich and varied thoughts of African people. We have an exciting lineup of shows that we think you'll enjoy, including
the Bitter Medicine Podcast.
I think black people require too much buy-in. Like, we constantly have to sell black people on things that are beneficial to black people.
The Pro-Black Perspective Podcast.
I'm fearful that our people are not really studying how to get ahead, and we're kind of, continually staying behind.
The Harsh Reality Podcast.
To me, it don't matter. I think people are so dumbed down. It wouldn't matter what you reveal to them. They still are in the matrix. They in the simulation. They're going to keep doing what they did. They lemmings. So to me, it don't matter, man.
The Learning Curve Podcast.
Sexual access has never given you economic empowerment. The only person who has ever been economically empowered by a sexual relationship is the wasp and his woman.
The Cathedral Cheek Show.
When we start rising up to fight for our own, I guarantee you they'll stop doing what they're doing. I guarantee you they would have let their brother go. They was waiting to see what black folks was gonna do.
Brother Bakari Podcast.
Black people love to claim folks that hate them, right? But they're a slave master, and they are ashamed of who they really are.
The Forecast Radio.
Like if you pray to the same deity as like your enemy, and that God blesses your enemy more than you may want to reconsider who you praying to, you know.
And Tanzan, African Mind.
Africans generally are welcoming of everyone. Sometimes, to my consternation, I think that they should be less, welcoming.
If you love our podcast network, we would be grateful if you could rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on social media, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and check out our website at www.kwazradio.com for more information. Thank you for tuning in. And now, back to the program.
Yes. Like that beat. Shout out to Joe, who's here as well tonight. And shout out to our brother Anthony McPhail, who's here tonight as well. They're saying that link expired. That's wild. It's truly something strange going on with this streaming service. I don't know why. I just created that a couple of hours ago before the show. But there's a new one. I posted it in the chat. Hopefully Black Steel will come up shortly. But yeah, there goes Black Steel. Yes, anyone who wants to join, click that link I posted in the chat. I don't know why it's no good anymore. Click that link and come on up. Our first panelist tonight is Black Steel. Black Steel, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Koku. I'm doing wonderful, actually. All for the next 2 weeks, fucking kids. Yes, sir.
Wonderful. I appreciate you coming through. Right now, it's just me and you. I was trying to see if Anthony would come up early to perhaps see if we could get him in before there's any trouble. So I just replaced the pinned link at the top of the chat. Make sure to click it and try to join. Let's welcome in our brother Jose. In the meantime, Jose, how are you this week?
Yes. Sorry, I was fighting with my profile here. I'm okay.
Good,
How about you?
I'm good, man. Thanks for coming through for real. Anthony says he'll try in a few minutes. In the meantime, then, let's go right into it, I guess. Let's go to Shoot the Breeze topic number 1. Shoot the Breeze topic number 1 says, how accurate is the chart in the beginning, and should we be rich already? So this comes with a link. Let me share my screen. This comes with a link that's taking us to X. And on X, we are looking at this chart here. So here's a tweet from Megedi Wade. It says, notice something? Not a single African country is on this top 10 list of natural resources. So this is a thread. I need Jose to mute his mic. This is a thread. This is one of 3. This says top countries by natural resource value. It says Russia, right? Russia, it's kind of hard to see. Let me see if I can make it. No. It says Russia has coal and oil and timber and things of that nature. Rare earth metals is its main natural resource. They have 75 trillion. The U.S. is the second with coal, timber, natural gas, gold, copper in the amount of 45 trillion. Then there's Saudi Arabia, which has oil and natural gas at 34 trillion. There's Canada at fourth with 33 trillion. Iran, China, Brazil, Australia, Iraq, and Venezuela tops off the top 10. Venezuela being 14 trillion at 10, and Russia at 75 trillion at number 1. Interesting. So the second part of this thread says Venezuela, with 14 trillion in resources, is one of the poorest countries in the world. About 90% of its people live in poverty, despite having the world's largest oil reserves. And a picture of a poor area, poor town in Venezuela. Then it says, this proves that wealth is not in the ground, it's in people. And to prosper, Africa needs economic freedom to let our people thrive. What do you think? And there's a video here, I'll play it. It's about a minute long. We'll listen to it and then we'll discuss it.
What these countries have understood is that economic freedom is at the center for prosperity building. Paul Kagame, the president of Rwanda, he wants to be the Singapore of Africa, and Lee Kuan Yew is his model. If you take Lee Kuan Yew and Singapore as your example, then it means that, like him, you're going to have to be serious about economic freedom. That's what Singapore did. When Singapore figured that out, they went on to put in the right reforms to make their environment some of the most business-friendly environments in the world, one of the most free markets environment in the world, and you saw the magic of Singapore. Today, Singapore is richer than its ex-colonizer, Great Britain. So when I hear people telling me today, oh, Africa is poor because of colonization, I'm like, please, let's move on from that. What these countries have understood is that economic freedom is at the center for prosperity building. Paul Kagame, the president of Rwanda, he wants to be the Singapore of Africa, and Lee Kuan Yew is his model. If you take Lee Kuan Yew and Singapore as your example, then it means that, like him, you're going to have to be serious about economic freedom. That's what Singapore did. When Singapore figured that out, they went on to put in the right reforms to make their environment some of the most business-friendly environments in the world, one of the most free markets environment in the world, and you saw the magic of Singapore. Today, Singapore is richer than its ex-colonizer, Great Britain. So when I hear people telling me today, oh, Africa is poor because of colonization, I'm like, please, let's move on from that. What these
Very interesting. Very interesting. You know, one thing I've learned from Jose and what's the brother's name again? Gassed them up when both of them were around all the time, is that people don't talk about how those Asian countries are indeed allowed to operate a little bit. It's not as straightforward as people seem to think it is, that they just pull themselves up by the bootstraps. They're allowed to thrive a little bit. I'll be curious to hear what Jose has to say about it. In the chat, Black Seal said, geez. KW7 says, Rwanda is landlocked. Singapore is not. There is a big difference. I thought about that too when she used Rwanda as an example. That did cross my mind too. D Webb is out there from the Harsh Rally podcast. It says, peace, fam. Hope everyone is well. Good to see you, Webb. Let me start with Black Steel. Black Steel, what say you to this?
Yo, man, I hate black people like this, man. I really do. Because they get all the analysis in the world, right? But they want to. She reminds me of what's the one black dude name? Thomas Sowell, right? Whenever you talk about the economic realities of African people across the globe, they always want to, leave out slavery and Jim Crow and segregation and all these type of, legalized roadblocks that were put in place to keep Africa or Africans poor across the world. So they're never going to point out the systemic issues. So she wants to compare Singapore with, say, Rwanda, right? And this is a very interesting thing because Singapore, the country that it is as it exists, it has no natural resources. It's basically been used as a finance hub for the West. But with a lot of African countries, for example, when African countries were colonized by Europe, their sole goal was for resource extraction, and that was it. Any resource, any infrastructure that was created in Africa in the pre-colonial era was just meant to expedite the extraction of resources. Any railroads that was built, it wasn't built to connect the country or build roads or shipping or anything. It was merely built to facilitate the quick exploitation of the resources of that country. Many of these countries are I'm trying to think how I can put this in a way. Many of these African countries, colonialism never ended. So that's why it's called neo-colonialism, right? So the idea that these European countries came and they took the resources, but they left, and that was a long time ago. We're not playing this game. Whoever you are, man, we're not playing this game because this is her trying to rewrite history. France is still taking resources from its former colonies. Great Britain is still taking resources from its former colonies. International Monetary Fund. So let me give you an example, right? This ignorant woman here. First of all, what happens in that many of these situations, these African countries, they come out of colonialism in debt, impoverished. They'll take a loan from the International Monetary Fund, right? But what happens is that when they inadvertently default on these loans because of the crushing repayment rates, the high interest rates, and the repayment stipulations, what happens? They have to privatize their industry. They have to privatize their natural resources, so that way the wealth that these countries have no longer benefits these people, but it rather benefits the multinational corporation and their former colonizers. So she's leaving out a lot of history, and that chart was very suspect to me because she's talking about the value of the resources, but the resources don't necessarily mean that you're going to have a prosperous economy. And I think that there's a lot of nuance that she's leaving out, and she's leaving it out on purpose because she's trying to push a narrative as if Africa's impoverishment is not the West's fault. It's a failure on the part of Africa, on its leaders and its people. And I'm just not buying it. We've been hearing in some shape or form all of our lives that niggas ain't shit, and I'm really tired of it. So she got to do better than that. Oh man,
I appreciate that, Black Steel. With that said, let's hear from Jose. Jose, how accurate is the chart in the beginning, and how should we be rich already?
The chart. Yes, thank you for the pass because the chart. You know, Africom, the website is africom.mil, MIL. That stands for military, and of course the Western military or the Western assault, the Western yoke is of course not only on military basis, physical military basis. Information is also a very effective weapon, and the mind of the African, that's the most valuable resource on the planet. Not the melanin, more worth more than gold. No, the mind of the African, because gold in the soil, right? Gold, when it's not yet won, right? Gold or diamonds or whatever, it's a stone, right? It's a flexible stone when it's 24K, but it's dirt if nobody values it. So of course the African is the value, but who has the African? Who has his mind? Is it's I've seen many clips of this sister, and she's obviously, if you've seen more clips of her, she is obviously cating, or let me say kissing, uh, to the West, I'm tired of these educated. Shall I name the sex or shall I just say people? But I'm tired of these educated people. I mean, she's very theatrical. So she's well aware, or maybe not so, but she's playing a role. She obviously she's not being honest, and I found it typical that Venezuela was touched in the um, in the in the item. These lists, right? The list, the top 10. It's political. To me, it looks like somebody's. It's a list of countries over which somebody's mouth is watering. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say, but the list looks like the 7 countries that Israel proposed to the United States to wage war against, like 20 years ago, and there's only one. Uh, only Iran is missing. All those 7 countries, six of the 7 are already done, and rest Iran. So that, to me, the list looks like that. Somebody's mouth is watering over those resources named. Do you follow? Because our resources are practically still, yeah, mostly going to the West, and if not to the West, then it's Samsung making products for the West. And what I want to add to it, as you mentioned, gas them up. Japan and South Korea were created in fear of the rise of socialism and communism in that region, and the West needed capitalist marvels. And I don't know about Singapore. Singapore looks. Yes, Singapore was used as financial and logistic hub, but they also helped China um, develop their government structure. Yeah, I'm just data. I'm just spewing data. But yeah, that's it. That's what I think.
Before we go on, I want to say something too, real quick, Koku.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I think it's very interesting how they mentioned Venezuela, right? And the Venezuela's oil reserves, but they really neglect to leave out number one, how the United States has sanctioned Venezuela, crippling sanctions on Venezuela's oil. They've made it almost impossible for Venezuela's oil to be sold on the open market. Between the economic sanctions, between the way Venezuela's oil is embargoed, like they've literally seized, like the U.S. Navy has literally seized oil tankers full of Venezuelan oil. All right, they've done it to Iran. They stole Iranian oil. So you can't say, "Oh, Venezuela has rich resources, but they're poor." Why are they poor? You're really going to leave out the fact that Venezuela has been literally under attack. Sanctions are an act of war. I think that we don't always realize that. It's an act of economic warfare. So we're going to ignore the fact that um, these economies are suffering and they're crippled because of the role of an imperialist power who wants to bring them to heel. All right. They feel because Venezuela has nationalized their resources, right? And they're using the wealth of their resources to benefit their people, that this is a threat to the U.S. hegemony. The United States does not want the threat of a good example. Even the whiff of communism, the whiff of socialism, is enough to get them to attack your nation. First of all, they want to try to criminalize you in the media. You know, we always hear this talk about Hugo Chavez being a dictator. First, they want to destroy your image. They start putting think pieces in the New York Times. They find expats from your country to come and talk about you, and it escalates. So we can't really discuss these nations' poverty without discussing how sanctions are used as a weapon of war to bring countries to heel, with the desired goal is to make the economic conditions in the country so dire that the population will rise up, depose of their leaders, and that way they can put a leader who's more favorable to the United States or to the West. Basically, this is all by design. There's been several books written about it. So I just really think this conversation, as the woman is saying, is just disingenuous at best. I'm done.
Yeah, I was going to ask you guys a follow up question, but you just nailed it. What's the psyop that's being played here? And I think Black Steel just nailed it. It has your people now thinking, "Oh man, the leadership is just shit, right? We're not, we're not, our leadership is not doing anything for the people, blah blah blah. So let's rise up, get them out of here." And then these powers bring in their puppet leadership. That essentially does the same thing. And in fact, they do even less. You know what I mean? So I was gonna ask that follow up question. So thank you for kind of answering it preemptively, Black Steel. Joe said, did you want to add anything to what Black Steel had to say?
No, on point. Mental warfare on point.
Absolutely. This was a good post. We've had this lady on before. I guess her name is Maggette Wade. We've had her on before. She's used very well to kind of big up European economics, European economies, and stuff like that. She's used very, very well and very often too. Let me see what some of the people are saying. Some of the people are saying this woman knows. Someone says another thing Lee Kuan Yew did, which made Singapore so business friendly, is that he destroyed any hint of corruption in his government. Someone says Singapore is not richer than the UK and is just a city state. Africa is rich, very rich, and with the right governance will thrive. These postulates are flawed. Lee Kuan Yew was able because of his will to change Singapore. Someone says, my theory, surviving a harsh life requires resiliency and damn near savagery. Nature does this through androgens. If prosperity increases, mutations that turn down androgens have some room to live. Society starts to cooperate, positive feedback. Okay, so that's someone that's trying to talk some some science Bible within this reality here. But yeah, I mean, that top 10 list is very, very interesting. Kind of surprising, even that Venezuela makes the top 10, to be honest. Kind of surprising.
Venezuela's always been very well. I mean, prior to the takeover, not say takeover, it's the election of Chavez and other other actually democratically elected leaders, Venezuela was doing quite well. So it always strikes me when you see these sudden downturns in a country's fortune. I think the lady needs to read Confessions of an Economic Hitman and understand how the CIA and other organizations are literally used to destroy a nation's economy to make them more pliable.
Check this. Check this. So Chavez came to power after a revolution of the people, right? They were holding oil tankers in the ports, etc. Do you know that a Dutch guy working for Shell did that? They he left the country. He left the oil price. He fucked around with the price of oil that made the people stand up. And then this dude came to the Netherlands, and he became the leader of the Workers' Party, the biggest leader of the leader of the biggest Workers' Party, like the Democrats. Like you know our people voting for that party, like every immigrant voting for that party, so-called left party. And this uh, ex-worker from Shell became the leader of the Workers' Party here, and he killed it. He committed suicide on the party. But anyway, it's patterns. I see those patterns everywhere. Like it just happened with the Democratic Party practically committing suicide. But anyway, I just wanted to share.
No, that's good stuff. I appreciate that. In the chat, we got Trigger Happy 262 Plus is out there. We got Cheryl is out there. Again, the link is pinned to the top of the chat. Let's try to get some more folks up on the panel tonight. We're coming down to the end of the year. Like Black Steel said in the beginning, a lot of people have the next couple of days, if not 2 weeks off. So let's hang out together. Let's talk some black stuff here on Shoot the Breeze. If there's no last thoughts on that prompt, let's go to Shoot the Breeze topic number 2 tonight then. Shoot the Breeze topic number 2 says, how do we stop this from happening in our communities? How do we stop this from happening in our communities? So this comes with 2 parts. I'm going to play the first one. It should be short, if I remember correctly. I might play it twice and then play the next part twice. So here's the first part.
They did a grand thing when they took that discipline away from us, because when they made our parents afraid to discipline the children, then what happened? We found out that the teachers were afraid of the principals were scared of the superintendent was scared of the school board was scared of the parents were scared of the children, and the children ain't scared of nobody. They did a grand thing when they took that discipline away from us, because when they made our parents afraid to discipline the children, then what happened? We found out that the teachers were afraid of the principals were scared of the superintendent was scared of the school board was scared of the parents were scared of the children, and the children ain't scared of nobody.
Let me just pause it there and just read a couple of comments under this. There's a comment here that says, this is why our children aren't learning and have no respect for anyone or anything. What a powerful statement. We need to get back to parenting the right way, teaching children about values and morals, and more importantly, a spiritual foundation. Someone else says here, one of the best speeches I've ever heard. Someone else says, you telling the absolute truth, sis. Someone says, dang, that was Powerful. So that's just a few of the comments under that. But again, this came with a second attachment as well. So what I'll do is I'll play this one. I'll play it maybe twice, and then we will discuss it.
Did y'all see that news story going on up in Virginia where hundreds of parents have been turning over their children to the state?
Parents voluntarily giving up their kids as they get older, close to being teens or in their teen years. It is a huge problem in Virginia, specifically in our part of the Commonwealth. It's called relief of custody. Hundreds have been filed in just the past 5 years. 10 News investigates what's going on and the group working to find solutions. Basically giving up your kid is... Wow. I can't think about that.
Right. I mean, to think of a parent being faced with the decision of, how do I keep my younger kids safe? How do I keep myself safe? How do I keep the child, the teenager that I love safe, and feeling like they're failing?
It's crazy how growing up in the 80s, our parents didn't have that option. Our parents didn't have that option, especially in the Black community. There was nowhere for us to take and say, hey, we just gonna turn our kids over to the states because we can't handle them and we fear for safety of the other children. Did we have disciplinary issues? Yes, we did. We were not perfect children. But to rise to the level where these parents are feeling like they gotta turn their kids over to the state? Did y'all see that news story going on up in Virginia where hundreds of parents have been turning over their children to the state?
Parents voluntarily giving up their kids as they get older, close to being teens or in their teen years. It is a huge problem in Virginia, specifically in our part of the Commonwealth. It's called relief of custody. Hundreds have been filed in just the past 5 years. 10 News investigates what's going on and the group working to find solutions. Basically giving up your kid is... Wow. I can't think about that.
Right. I mean, to think of a parent being faced with the decision of, how do I keep my younger kids safe? How do I keep myself safe? How do I keep the child, the teenager that I love safe, and feeling like they're failing?
It's crazy how growing up in the 80s, our parents didn't have that option. Our parents didn't have that option, especially in the Black community. There was nowhere for us to take and say, hey, we just gonna turn our kids over to the states because we can't handle them and we fear for safety of the other children. Did we have disciplinary issues? Yes, we did. We were not perfect children. But to rise to the level where these parents are feeling like they gotta turn their kids over to the state? Did y'all see that?
So for symmetry, I played it twice. I just want to read a couple of comments under the video, then I'll read some comments from the chat, then I'll throw it to the panelists. Someone here says, this is all on the parents. They raise monsters, now want to pawn them off like puppies. Sad world. Someone else says, the way these kids are destroying houses or killing their entire family behind getting a phone taken, it's a different world. Someone says here, this is a bit lengthy, but I'll read this last one. It says, parents are now handing over their kids to the state because they can't handle their behavior. But let's be real. This didn't just happen overnight. When parents are afraid to discipline their children because they fear the courts or worry their kids will be taken away, this is the result. If you're not able to guide and discipline your child early on, by the time they hit 14, 15, 16, or 17, they'll test you. And some will even try to abuse or overpower you. This is why discipline is crucial from the start, whether it's a firm hand or timeouts. Parenting isn't about being their friend. It's about raising them to be respectful, accountable, and well-rounded individuals. The earlier you set boundaries, the better your results will be when they're teenagers. Let's not wait until it's too late. Over in our chat, a few of you have responded to this. Good to see Azuli out there. Azuli, well, first of all, Anthony recognized the first speaker. He says Dr. Julia hair was on fire. I watched that live back in the day, so that's good to know. Erzuli's out there. He says, but you parents went with it. You voted all these policies in. You voted for these people who decided laws that said you can't discipline your kids. He goes on to say, you told other adults they can't check your kids in the street when they're acting crazy in the streets. Can't argue with that. Trigger Ivy 262 Plus says black people have no clear control of their socialization, especially in a Western context. I appreciate all those comments from you guys. Let's keep the comments rolling. That makes the show a little bit more cohesive and gives a deeper analysis to a lot of these prompts too. So keep the comments coming for me, please. I'm gonna start with Jose on this one. Jose, how do we stop this from happening in our communities?
Well, I'm gonna I'm gonna mention the name Edward Bernays, uh, like I do quite often. But yeah, propaganda. We complain about hip hop music degeneracy. We blame hip hop and not the violent Hollywood movies. But there's something worse, and that's all advertisements promise an easy life, laid back, no hardship, no disciplining each other, uh, be free, be yourself, etc., and all that type of individualistic nonsense. So far, that even inside a family, in the individualism rules, and so these short snippets, these shorts, advertisements are shorts, and I, as as the mind, the human mind is also kind of a hobby of mine. I'll make a bridge to what's happening right now, right? So these shorts, call it advertisements, right? These shorts influence our thinking, our our fabric, right? It's deeper than thinking. It influences our fabric. So this easy life is promised, right? By shorts, and I use the word shorts on purpose because I believe shorts on social media has also destroyed people, and our people are my interest. The rest is their problem, and our people buy shorts. The short month, the short month graduates. How I sometimes call FBA and ADOS. I believe shorts from the short month, the shortest month, uh, Black History Month. I believe shorts have influenced our people. I believe shorts. We have to study shorts uh, if we want to know how FBA came about, how it was possible that FBA exists, because I believe people were programmed by shorts, by advertisements, short thinking advertisements with yells. Um, yeah. So I'm calling shorts advertisements, and I'm calling advertisements shorts because it has influence, it has an impact uh, f- on intellectual lazy people, and to be honest, everybody is intellectually lazy. Intelligent people are lazy, or laziness creates intelligent people because you're thinking about a way to make things easier or more practical. And in this mist of false promises of easy life, this is what happens: individualism inside the family. And there you go. Now you have a generation that is uncontrollable. You can't tell them shit. And yeah, what are we going to do about it? I believe we have to counter Edward Bernays. we have to understand propaganda. We have to what's the word? We have to create what's the word? Um, Narrative, right? There is no black narrative, and we have to create a black narrative. We have to, uh, uh, for example, when we share shit, right? So we are already mentally rotten. Let me put it harsh. Uh, we are already mentally rotten because look at the advertisements that we make. Uh, we let me compare it to Asians. Asians shorts on the internet are of working people, are of farming people, manufacturing, and all that type of shit. And our shorts, the content that we create, are debates, insults, and make fun of each other. So we have to counter Edward Bernays. Period.
I appreciate that, Jose. Let me see if I can get Anthony up here. Anthony, can you hear us? Can you hear us, Anthony? Can you hear us? All right, I guess not. I don't know what's going
Can you cut
on
the
with.
camera off? Maybe let him know to cut the camera off because maybe I could be blocking his sound.
Yeah. Let me see. Yeah, it says something. It says something that his camera has a low FPS. Let me put that out there. I don't want to spend too much time on it not working this week. Um, in the meantime, in the meantime, in the chat, D Web says not only are teachers not allowed to discipline kids, but parents face prosecution if you mention physical discipline in front of school officials. The Zulism says you parents rebel hard against your parents' disciplining techniques. You've been all the way on the opposite end of soft correction and friendship with your kids. Let me try one more time with Anthony. Anthony, you gotta turn off your camera, but can you hear us?
I see I'm on stage. I can't hear nothing.
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you, but I don't know why it is we can't. You can't hear us. Still can't hear us. All right. Let me see something. Let me see. So okay. In the meantime, let's go to Black Steel. Black Steel, I left you uh for last because you know this topic pretty well. What say you to all of it?
Well, number one, there's no law against disciplining your kids, right? There's nothing, and really, it depends on where you live. In the United States of America, at very least, there's nothing illegal about spanking your kids, right? That's something that I hear a lot. But legally, if you take out a belt or a switch and you beat your kids on the butt, you're not going to go to jail for that. That's not really a problem. What I do think, and kind of what concerns me, right, is in school the lack of parental support, right? So as teachers, yeah, you can't physically discipline a child. There are some disciplinary things you can do. You can do referrals, which could lead to in-school suspension, out-of-school suspension, work detail. You can't attend games or things like that. So as school officials, your hands are tied, right? You can't go up to a kid and slap him in the back of the head, no matter how bad they're acting, right? But I think what happens is that there's no parental support on behalf of the students and the educators. So, say for example, you have a child who's disrupting the class, and as a teacher, first thing you do, you call home. Hey, I just want to let you aware. Um, of what's going on. The parent, now, if you have a good parent, the parent say, you know what, thanks for letting me know. I'll handle it. You won't have a problem anymore. And we let the parent handle the discipline on that end. Then you could have the inverse. Well, what did you do? They don't seem to have a problem with anybody else but you, so it must be you. So then you have the problem, you have the child's parents who begin to push back against that. Because a lot of the problems are this. A lot of these parents were children themselves when they had kids. You have these young parents who may have not grown up with the best home situation. They had kids young, and then what they do, they see their child not as their child, but as their friend. And then they want to take up for their child, and they want to defend their child's wrongdoing. So then you have a situation where you have a kid where there's consequences the school is trying to exact, and then because there's no parental support, okay, what does that leave us? Yeah, we can write your referral, we can suspend you, but what happens is that if you during your suspension, you home playing video games. They really don't. If you don't really want to be in school in the first place, being suspended won't bother you. Some parents, you suspended, you're not going anywhere. You're staying in your room. You're grounded, so on and so forth. If you get to a point where you can get expelled from the school, then you have to go to an alternative school. Alternative schools are very harsh in their discipline. I mean, I've seen kids who have had to wear the Hannibal Lecter mask and be restrained in a special chair. It gets intense in those schools. But as far as it happening in our communities, I think that we have to realize this is part of a larger plan to undermine the black family. The black family has been under attack really since slavery, and it comes under attack in various ways. And the young lady, she mentioned the time, the 1980s, right? The 1980s begins with, number one, the war on drugs, which we have the repeal of many of the reversal of many of the gains of the civil rights movement. So beginning with the election of Ronald Reagan, we start to see many of the gains that were done via the civil rights movement start to get rolled back. We see Ronald Reagan is his plans, his what we call supply side economics, or in reality, what he called trickle down economics, where you have tax cuts on the rich, right? So that way the rich have more money. It's supposed to trickle down, and then the rich people who are the job creators are supposed to create jobs and give people more, benefits. But in reality, all Reagan did was make things easier for his rich buddies. So as he's cutting social programs, he's gutting the mental health industry and other things that are used to help people. In the meantime, he's enriching his base. So this creates a increase in poverty among black people. And when you start to see increase in poverty, you start to see more of a breakdown in society. You start to see the rise of more single family homes in America. This is very much by design. So we can track the beginning of what she mentioned the 1980s. The beginning of this lack of discipline, this lack of family structure, this lack of single family homes are directed towards very intentional public policies and as a white backlash to the gains that black people made in the 60s and 70s. So as we start to see the breakdown in the family, we start to see younger people becoming parents who aren't necessarily equipped with the skills to raise their children. And also too, I'm going to be all honest as well. School is a very hostile place sometimes. And I've experienced it as a child, having to deal with racist white teachers and the way they treated me. This school can be a very, very hostile place for black children. And I don't think that gets talked about enough. There's a saying about school to prison pipeline, and you can almost predict the people who are going to be in prison based on their reading scores, based on their math scores, right? These kids, many of them are being funneled straight from public school into the criminal system. And these children can sense that they are not valued, they are not listened to, and they rebel. One thing about kids is they're gonna rebel. That's how they are. I think, in my thought, this is just my humble opinion, I think these young people are pushing back against a faculty who doesn't look like them, who they feel don't care about them, and don't have their best interests at heart. So the faculty doesn't reflect the demographics of many of the schools. And that's where you're having the disciplinary problems come in. So that's just my thoughts on some of that as well. They don't really connect with the with them as they should. So and Trigger Happy said African families not beating their kids. And that's another point, is that when we say discipline, many times we talk about
Hold that
physical.
thought. Hold that thought. We'll use that as a follow-up question. Let's
All
get
right, cool.
through everyone. All right. In the chat, I just want to point out that where is it? I want to point out Brother Bakari, who put me on to EVMux. He says that EVMux has a lot of problems with certain phones. Most times, you have to use your computer. I can't use my phone to join the panel. I have to use my computer. So that's something to keep in mind. For anyone who wants to join, try to use a laptop if you can. Buana said he couldn't hear anything. Hopefully, you can hear something now. D Webb says definitely disagree. We had an ass principal tell us that if we mentioned spanking the kid in front of her, she specifically stated she would have to report it to the authorities. Cheryl is out there. Cheryl says, what would it take for parents in a black neighborhood of 100 parents to pool money every month for services for children so that they don't have to go to these schools? I've asked that question so many times, it's not funny. Cheryl says public schools in America are just glorified daycare centers for older kids. Anyway, she says, I can guarantee your kids aren't learning anything that will help them out their situation in the future. Webb says, also to that point, most parents work. So if the kid is suspended, it's likely the parent is not able to sit there and watch the kid all day. They'll likely be doing what they want. Trigapi 262 plus has a question that I'll use as a follow-up question. Let me see if Buana can hear us. Buana, can you hear us?
Goku, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, good. Good night, everyone. I hope all the brothers are good. I apologize for my lateness. I told Coco about that, but I apologize for my lateness. I'm probably gonna go on the next prompt, but I would only say to Anthony, um, if you can, brother, if you can, a laptop seems to be working better on this particular platform as opposed to cell phones. So if you could get your hands on a laptop, I think it'll be much better than a cell phone because I couldn't hear anything either on the cell phone. So that may be able to assist you in trying to get up. You and Shirley's, maybe you'll be able to get your hands on a laptop and I'll be able to be workable and be heard because I can hear everything and I'm sure that everyone can hear me as well. So
Appreciate that, Buana. Jose also added, he says, on my iPhone, most of the time, Safari works better with these panel apps. Try another browser, perhaps. So the follow-up question is from Trigger Happy 262 Plus. who says that there's a child advocate by the name of Dr. Stacy Patton who makes the argument that physical discipline and beatings fuel the fire of regressing black children. Do you all agree or disagree with her? I'll say this quickly. There's a manner that you have to go about with physical discipline. Else you will, I think, take the fire out of children. One of the things you'll notice with these white kids, now they have whole systems and whatever in their favor too. But a black child ain't gonna curse out the people who are responsible for feeding them, clothing them, and housing them. But white children will do that. They'll look at their daddy and say, "Hey, John, what the fuck you think you're doing?" Right? Like they do that, and a part of the reason why those people allow that to happen is so that they have that fire. When that kid gets 25, 26, 20, and goes on a job, that kid's boss ain't gonna just run over him or her. They'll look at the boss and say, "Hey, John, what the fuck you think you're doing?" Right? So it has to be done in a way, I think, that it doesn't literally beat the fire out of them, but it has to be done in a way where it's still to the point. So that's my take on that. I'll be curious to hear what others have to say. Let me start with Jose. Jose, what do you think about the idea of beatings fuel the fire of regression in black children? Unmute your mic, brother.
I was talking to him on mute to him. Like, I don't know. Earlier somebody also said that physical punishment was not a thing in Africa. I don't know. There's many people still make children in Africa. So I see a lot. I see a lot of different approaches for example, the cousins of my child. There's one aunt that has a twin, a girl and a boy, and the boy. What Trigger Happy explains here is definitely the case with this boy, but my son and another cousin boy, they get beat like sometimes. I just let it happen, right? Because I don't wanna disturb the local standard, right? So I watch, even if it's my son, right? If it's if he's being disciplined, I just shut up and I watch what happens. And I see a difference. It's not the beating per se that what was the word, and I had to put it in a translator, the regressing of the fire, right? It's not the physical punishment. It's the approach of the parent, because the aunt, the mother of the twin, she has, it's like she hates black males, right? She hates, um she refuses to marry the father of the children while he's always there. It's another energy. Let me put it that way. I don't need to go into the details. It's another energy with her beating her son and letting her daughter do anything she likes. And so he's very soft. He's very scared. I bought a dirt bike for my child, and he's like, he's like, people would, I mean, he's soft, he's scared, he falls off bicycles, and of course, you understand where I'm going. And while my son is very masculine, the other cousin even more. So it's not the beating. It's not the beating that regresses the fire. No, that's definitely not. So yeah.
Appreciate that, Jose. Also, Trigger Happy says that the doctor makes other arguments too, that spankings and lynchings First were in Europe before they became introduced in the Americas and became associated to black families. He says, black families in pre-colonial Africa never really beat their children. How right or wrong is she on this point? With that said, let's hear from Black Steel. Black Steel, what say you to all of it?
Well, I'm a fan of Dr. Patton myself. I actually have her book right here. If I can show a picture of it. Yeah, I got her book right here. So it's a good book too. But she does make some really good points. Cut my camera off. But yeah, she does. And as I thumbed through the books, one thing I highlighted that she has said is that black people, the way we view black children as inherently bad, and that the only way to keep them in line is by beating them. Black children suffer the highest rates of child abuse. They also suffer the highest rates of child fatalities via violence. So I think that she does make a very good point, and she says something in this book. She says, America's complicated history has conditioned us to accept that pain is a necessary part of learning and growing up black. Too many people across the color line believe that black children are inherently problematic and disrespectful thugs, the root of society's problems, and are in need of punitive forms of control. I think that if you know better, you do better, right? And I do say that there are many times people take out their anger and their frustration on their children, which definitely leads to the high rates of child abuse and the high rates of death that black children suffer. Most kids in foster care, even though America is a majority white nation, there's many places where black children are the majority of children in foster care, in orphanages. So I think there's a lot of moving pieces that are going on. But I do think I think she does prove her point that the violence that is inflicted on black children is a direct result of our enslavement and our conditions as a second class people in the United States. And not just that, but also colonialism as well. We see how colonialism, in every African nation, across the diaspora, played a part as well. So these same thought processes don't just exist within the United States. It also plays across in the global African world. I think that's something that we really need to touch on. As far as, again, I don't think that physical discipline should belong in a public school. I don't think that's the case at all. I definitely don't agree with that. I do think that parents need to be more involved. I think that many times parents view school as a babysitting. You're just babysitting the kids, watching for a couple hours. And outside of the lack of discipline, because discipline doesn't always mean physical discipline. There's things you can do to children. You can create consequences and repercussions. You can reward. And there's, another thing too is that there's positive reinforcement. And I don't really hear that too much, especially when it comes to black children. Because again, the thought that there's something inherently wrong with us, that our kids are bad, and if you don't do something for them, either the police are gonna kill them, they're gonna get in trouble. So you gotta beat them little niggas to get them under control. Um, that's really the thought process that a lot of people have. So I think that there's positive reinforcement that can be done. Instead of punishing them for bad behaviors, we can reward them for good behaviors. And that's something that doesn't really get to discuss dealing with black people, because the idea there's something wrong with us. That you can't do that, because if you do, then You're not reinforcing the society's rules. I'll stop there. Thanks.
I appreciate
Black
that.
Black
Yeah,
Steel.
yeah. Go
I'm
ahead,
sorry
Mark.
for interrupting.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that the problem becomes, and I like your analysis, but I think that the problem is that the black child is not taught to question authority. That is not his role. The black child's responsibility or his role is to follow orders, so he will make a better slave. That's not his responsibility as a black child. So he'll become a proper adult slave where he follows the orders of his master. Now you could change the scenario from that plantation kind of situation into a corporate type of situation. The white child is allowed to question authority or allowed to exercise his analytical mind because he is in position of master. So of course he should question authority. He should be able to ask the question why. Why? No, that doesn't seem right. It doesn't calculate, mommy. Why do you say this? Because the child, that white child, is supposed to be responsible in forming the world that he is creating for everyone else to live in. That's that's white supremacy at its core. But I'm saying that the black child is supposed to follow orders. So even by nature, when that child, because naturally the child wants to ask the question why. So even in our Sunday schools or even at an almost rudimentary elementary level, they say, don't worry about why, just do what I say. Do what I say. We enforcing rules. You supposed to follow our orders. We don't appreciate your analytical mind because you are just brought here to follow orders. There's a distinctive difference. So I say sometimes it's good to buttress against the idea of yes, you should question authority and let the black child question authority, even if it's your authority. You know what I mean? I know I parents squeamish about that. I say, well, who is my child to question me? Yes, because the black child, should have questions about the world that he lives in. That's his analytical mind working, and that should be nurtured. That analytical mind should be just like any other child on this planet. It's only through why you get to the conclusions or you get to assess, okay, why this don't work. Okay, how can I arrive at this particular point? You get to assess your analytical mind. But that's not why we are brought into the Western world. This is the trick that these people play on us. Don't worry about it, just do what I say. And they even get our mothers, and they even become a sign of respect and manners and discipline. You hear these terms bantered about, oh, you need to have some respect, manners, and discipline. These are just words of control, to put your black mind in a box. Whereas little Billy, he could tell his dad, Tom, get the fuck out of here. That don't make sense to me. Because his philosophy is we should question the world. And it's through our question that we're going to formulate our ideas of how the world should properly work in our eyes. They are constructing the world in their own in their own imagination, their own mind, and then they can make you follow after that. So there should be something to buttress against that. I think that the black mind should be nurtured. I think it should be nurtured. And I understand I am raised in the same rules and engagement as everyone else. Yes, I believe in respect. Yes, I believe in manners and all these things. But sometimes we should allow our children to question the things or the things that we tell them that they should do. It's not just to say, don't ask me the question, do what I say. No, no, that's not what I brought here. Let the analytical mind be strong because they have to be the future competitors in the world with along with the white man and the Chinese man and any other kind of man. So I think that this whole idea of not questioning authority within our culture, we need to take a second look at that. I think that we need to take a real second look at that. I don't know what you think about that, Black Steel, but yeah, as a teacher, but
Well,
I'll let you go.
I'm gonna say something, right? When we talk about some of the discipline problems that I speaking from my experience that I've had, right? Most of the discipline problems comes from uh non-compliance. So I got a young boy. He's very I believe he's a gang member, and he doesn't want to do any work. He comes into class. He gets to work. He sits down. 10 minutes. He's walking around the class. He's playing on his phone. Sit down. You sit down. Hey man, have a seat. We're doing some work. We're doing a lesson. If I'm doing the lecture, you want to get up and talk. Man, this is boring, man. Why we got to talk about this? I said, listen. You know, it's a lot of it is defiance. You know, they're not used to being told no at home. A lot of it is just, hey, I'm just not going to do this 'cause I don't want to, and you can't make me. He told me, hey, I don't care about getting in trouble. I don't care about getting no referrals. And if I get in school suspension, I'm not going. I'm just going to skip. I'm going to go home. I don't care. There's other ways to get this money than go to school, right? So when you're dealing with a discipline problem like that, we have rules and procedures, right? It's not always about just speaking their mind. A lot of times it's a issue with authority. You're not my mama. You're not my daddy. You can't tell me what to do, right? So that's so to me, it's the desire to buck authority, and and this is a problem that I had with my own child. Um, is that a lot of times he when he was the class clown, second grade, third grade, he really didn't understand. And he just because he didn't understand, nobody likes to feel stupid, right? So he would get up and joke around and make people laugh. So there's a lot of different reasons, but the difference is when I got a call, when I got an email, I dealt with it. I got him a tutor, and you know what? I actually I gave him some physical discipline for acting up in school, and then after I gave him the physical discipline, my girlfriend at the time was like, "Hey, it might be something else. Why don't you uh, get him tested?" Um, and I got him tested, and he had a not a he didn't need medication, but he did need like additional time on tests and other things. He had a IEP. Um, so I noticed his behavior improved once he got on the individual education plan that he needed. So that's something that is important. So
That is
go
yes,
ahead.
sir. That is a very legitimate point because, and I'm glad that you on this panel as a teacher because maybe you could bring balance to the discussion because there is a place where children absolutely want to rebel against so-called authority or you're not my dad, that kind of nonsense is going. That's an absolute fact. However, what of the other side of that? Where the child is listening to the content, Columbus sailed the ocean blue, and all the white scientists and all these people are so great and wonderful. And when we find all in Africa, we find what of the curriculum? If the curriculum is not engaging, or if the curriculum is telling me that you nothing but a no good savage, and but for us coming to rescue your slave ass niggas in Africa and your ancestors, you would be nowhere. What if the child listening to that content and rejecting it outright and become a disciplinary problem? What of about those children who are diametrically opposed to the content of the curriculum of what they are actually being taught, as opposed to just children just acting out? What do you say to those children?
I gotta say, and Cheryl asked us. Cheryl mentioned something about why they have to learn this. So, for example, right, the lesson in particular, we were talking about the French Revolution, right? We were talking about some of the social structures and things like that that led to the French Revolution. So one thing is that when you try to engage kids, right, you kind of try to find a way to meet them where they are. So history is a way to understand the world around you. That's why I teach history. I don't teach math. I don't teach science. I teach history. But it's a way to kind of understand how the world works and how the world it's a map, right? You can't know where you're going unless you know where you come from, right? So to tie into the lesson, I'm putting, hey, these people were hungry. They were dealing with corruption, and I try to tie it to what's going on in the world today. These people were in a system where they could not work within the system to improve their lives. So therefore, they had to work outside the system, even if it meant to the use of violence. And then what I do too, I tie the French Revolution into the Haitian Revolution. So because we have so many black kids, because we have so many kids from Haiti, I try to tie that in. So okay, so while this is going on in revolutionary France, they're talking about equality, liberty, everything else. These slaves are here in Africa dealing with the oppression of the French. So then they rise up for them get their freedom for themselves. So to me, I think number one, you got to have the course to graduate. So you got to learn it if you want to graduate high school. Number one, to answer your question, it's a required course. You won't get a diploma without it. But number two, everything you learn, I think some people want training. They want to say, okay, I gotta learn this so I can get a job when I graduate. And to me, that's not education, that's training, right? But education, it lets you engage with the world. It lets you don't want to teach kids what to think, but teach them how to think and then engage with that and ask more questions. That way they can get deeper. And then that way it can make them question the society that we live in. That to me is the ultimate goal. And I think that learning about that does add value to your life. You can't just be like, "Oh, I learned this, I got a job." I believe that education should be used to do more than just create worker bees or we get people get a good living. I think it goes beyond that personally. Um, but yeah, I do think, Buana, that a lot of it is defiance. A lot of it comes from not understanding the material. Um, a lot of children, and black children, I hate to say this, are definitely below um, reading level, right? They're not reading on grade level. There's problems with reading comprehension. And then when you put forth ideas, or you have certain discussions, they get confused, they get frustrated, and then you start to see the disciplinary actions. And Cheryl, even if I was in a black school, I'm still going to teach about the French Revolution. I'm not saying, I don't think that just having a black school means you should only teach black history. I think you should just teach history altogether. I think the problem in a lot of schools that black history was seen as an elective instead of as a core course. I would teach everything if I was in um, a black school. You're gonna learn about that all, whether or not it has just to do with black people. Um, but yeah, I think a lot of it is dealing with the kids have low reading scores, low math scores, um, and comprehension, and then nobody wants to feel stupid. And then if we can act out, if I can get the class to do a little TikTok dance, we don't have to focus on the lesson. And that way, my knowledge or lack of knowledge doesn't get put on display.
Yeah, a lot of commentary in the chat. I cannot read all of them for time's sake, but I appreciate all the comments. I tried to put them up on the screen, most of them. Um, Anthony suggested a book. I remember seeing that book years ago when my children were babies and stuff like that. So, and I'll tell you all just personally. I'm again, me and Buana from the same place. I grew up being told all the time, stop back talking. Because if I said ha, stop back talking, that does something to you. I look back on it and I realize that does something to you. Eventually you start questioning stuff. If you're not careful. Thankfully I came into a consciousness that a lot that forced me to question things. But a lot of people are stuck. I have family members who are still stuck on if certain elders in the family say something, they just keep quiet, even though it's some nonsense. They'll keep quiet and they'll let it ride. That's a bad thing. That's not good for us. That's not good for us at all. Is there any last thoughts on this prompt? If not, I'll go to Shoot the Breeze. What's it? Topic number 3 tonight. No last thoughts? All right. Thanks for all the comments in the chat. Make sure to join the Discord. Your comments, your topics can be discussed on Shoot the Breeze as well. Join the Discord. Navigate to the Shoot the Breeze topics channel. Post your Shoot the Breeze topic as well as an attachment. It could be from YouTube or Twitter. Those are preferable. And yeah, we could discuss your topics as well. Shoot the Breeze topic number 3 says, when will men wake up? When will men wake up? So this video is a little bit lengthy for Shoot the Breeze, but what I'll do is I'll play it on time and a half to cut it down a little bit. We're going to watch it. We'll watch it and then we'll discuss it.
Travis Hunter. So he was asked about his relationship, and one of the things he said is that he only takes pictures with females when his girl is around. It's basically a whole narrative on social media saying he needs to watch out for his fiance after news was revealed she initially didn't like him because he wasn't his type. So
she wasn't his type.
Yeah, she said that he wasn't his type. He wasn't her type initially.
Yeah, you got to clear that up.
Yeah, I'm messing up my words a little bit. But yeah, basically after all that narrative and what's been discussed, what do you think of the advice that everybody's giving Travis right now?
I didn't see it, but the first thing I heard was, when did he become her type? If he wasn't a type, is he now your type?
After you got 1,000 yards.
Yeah, because you did the financial report. What, we just not in the time of being silly. Especially one of the most important decisions you can make, other than what religion you're gonna be a part of, is the woman you're gonna marry. That's like the most important thing. That's more important than your banker, because the woman you pick gonna decide everything. So I like the way that Kayla is taking his time with that. But pause for real, because that's the most important thing you could do. Like, she's gonna determine if she get 50%, 60%. Just everything's going to be decided on that. How your kids going to look, what kind of temperament they're going to have when you're not present, what they're going to be like, just your legacy. This is a lot. I think when people think about that, they don't really think it over as much as they should. So if a woman told me I wasn't her type, but now I'm her type, I would never do that.
You never, so for question for both of you guys have never grew to like somebody even though you initially didn't?
Yeah, but the danger with that is whatever you didn't like. See, this is how I work in like relationships, right? The same thing you love about a person is the same thing you're going to eventually hate at some point. So you got to know that, like, say a dude, you're like, he's assertive. But then when you don't like it, you say he's controlling. It's the same thing. So if somebody tell you from the jump, you're not their type, that's going to show up later at some point. It have to, because it's there. Unless you're going to be fake to be with her. If he came and told me that, I would tell him the same thing you do when you catch the ball, do with her. Run.
Did I have a girl like somebody? He's like, no.
Oh. Exactly.
No, I didn't. I like
He's
you.
the wrong one to ask if a girl said,
Hey.
Killer, you're not my type, but now you're my type.
No, but vice versa too. Like, you're like, she okay. And they're like, oh, nah. Like,
What you mean?
like you didn't really like her first, and then like after a time, you're like, okay, she fired.
That's happened before, but not long term.
Okay.
That's happened. I'm like, oh, you actually a cool chick, man. You cool. It's actually happened recently. I'm like, oh, you pretty cool, but I don't want to bone her no more because you're a headache. But you're actually cool outside of boning. You know what I'm saying? Outside of boning, you're cool. But I don't want to bone you no more. Larry, no, that's why he laughing. This recently happened, like a little while ago, like actually a couple weeks ago. Somebody, a friend of mine came to see me. I used to have sex with, and she's complicated when you have sex with her. And the whole time that she was in the town, I wouldn't have sex with her. And he's like, I'm like, nah, you're actually a pretty cool person, but when I bone you, you're not a cool person. So
That's exactly what I'm saying. So whatever he didn't like, it showed back up.
Yeah, but that's what. Yeah, what?
So do you think the scenario was when she said that? I could see them being somewhere, and then it's like, oh, he's not my type, and then somebody said, that's Travis Hunter, and she's like, who? Travis Hunter? Then all of a sudden she's like, oh.
Let me tell you something. That's a great question. Because let me tell you something.
She didn't know, now she knows.
Yo, that's great. No, that's a great point.
You don't know, now you know.
Let me tell you something. It's a big tournament it used to be. It's Dykeman. When growing up, it was a big tournament in Harlem called Rucker, and that's where like all the best players. Not gonna say best, but like the big time players used to play in the summertime, and the drug dealers used to coach them and all that. And I was probably the youngest person to play at Rucker at one time. I was like 15 years old, and I played really good one year and won a championship, etc. And it was like a big deal because nobody my age kind of played at Rucker at that time, and we won a championship and everything. And I fucked a couple old bitches. They're like, that's shorty from Rucker right there that won the championship and all that. I'm like, I'll take the pussy off that. You know what I'm saying? So you're right, Larry, that sometimes somebody can nudge you and be like, oh, that's homeboy, or that's this, or that's that. Let me ask Mace this. Have you ever been with somebody after you were somebody that didn't want you when you were nobody? Me too. For payback for me. For me, it was payback. For me, it was definitely payback. A couple chicks in school, bitch, say, oh, you say my jeans was dirty every day, right? I'm gold, bitch. Now I'm going to bone you and don't care about you because this is just payback because you used to didn't think I was anybody. So that was a great question, Larry, because somebody might have put it on the game. Like a few weeks ago, we seen Travis Hunter have one of his best games ever, and when he got off the field, trying to give his girl a hug, and she was like, oh, come on. Like, what are you doing? And it's like, yo, Travis Hunter has a YouTube channel with this girl. They live together. And it's really kind of sad, my personal opinion, because I don't know the interior relationship, but just from the outside looking in, you know how hard it is to find niggas who's, that don't really, I can't say this for Travis, I'm just saying in general, to find somebody who doesn't lie or cheat and just goes to practice and wants to be a professional and is focused on you and bring you out publicly at 19, 20, 21 years old. I remember motherfucking CD Lamb was getting drafted. His girl grabbed his phone and said, excuse me, don't touch my phone. What the fuck is you doing? I said, damn, my Travis Hunter look like he give his girl the phone. I go, hey, if you want to go in the phone, just go in the phone. He looks like that type of player. And when you don't understand that, a female doesn't understand it, like, y'all are hype over this. I got this nigga brain. When you got a nigga brain or vice versa, everything else is going to go out. Me personally, I would get far away from her. I don't like attitude from here. Just my personal opinion. And I know Travis is the homie, so I don't want to speak on your girl, but I'm just talking about if I didn't know you and from the things that I see on the television and the blogs and so on and so forth, yo, take it from Coach Prime.
Yeah.
Coach Prime walked his kids up and say, hey, they one of these shits when he's seen his baby mom. Sometimes it be like that, man.
Yeah, she doesn't give off the energy like she really love him. You know, and that's really alarming. And it's crazy that, you know, he plays offense and defense. He should be able to see that.
Yeah, that's a good one. See all that. He ain't a quarterback, though. Quarterback gonna see all that. Last thing I say about this, and then just this advice to people that's single right now. You're supposed to go out there and find your soulmate. It's almost impossible. You're never gonna find a soulmate. Soulmate, you know, and I'm not gonna say never because people, I don't know, when to talk about marriage relationship or anybody else married. People can be happily married. But you know what a soulmate is? You gotta finish each other's sentences. You gotta like the same TV shows. You gotta sit there and like the same music. I be in car with sometimes bitches playing shit. I don't wanna hear that shit. They don't wanna hear the shit that I got. Being a soulmate is really deep. What you should do is get a checklist and they like, yo, like she do this, she do that, he do this, he do that. And if you get 8 out of 10, you're doing pretty good. It's gonna be hard to find a soulmate. I think I found my soulmate. She died. My homegirl, one of my chicks I had, like we was on the same page with a lot of shit. It's hard to find somebody who likes the Sopranos and then go listen to Wu-Tang for 2 hours. And then go and suck your dick for another 38 minutes. Or cook steak because you're hungry afterwards. You know, it's hard to find all that shit in one person. You know what I'm saying? To find all that in one person, it's hard because think about this. Like me personally, I love having sex, but I like a chick who busts a nut when she's sucking my dick too. Sometimes that satisfies her. I'm not gonna find that with everybody. It's hard.
You know, it's so crazy. Every time you do these lists, there's people that DM me and say, tell Killer I can do all that whole list.
Yo, fam, you know what's crazy? This one other thing. I might put it up for Nick to say at the show, right? This girl was getting crazy with me on Instagram the other day. I put up a post of something, and the girl was talking crazy, but you know, I like to troll. So I told her, shit, I said, I'm thinking about blocking you, but I don't want to block you. You got a nice baby hair and a cute little pig nose. Can I put my dick on your nose? I just want to put my dick on your nose, please. Because I can look in a profile that said Brooklyn. I was like, you're just a dirty little Brooklyn bitch with a nice baby hair and a cute little pig nose. Let me come on your nose and change your life. So she was like, I would never. Who do you think you are? You look like your breast thing. And there was mad girls underneath like, you can put it on my nose if you want to put it on. I'll let you put my dick on my nose. So I get what you're talking about, murder. They out there. It's about doing the search.
Soulmates out.
They out there. The search is just hard.
Y'all know I have different views, so
I'm done.
I'm gonna say my last 2 cents or whatever. I don't even there's no way to even transition from that. Like I don't have any sort of smooth nothing. Like, all right, this is what they leave me with, y'all. I just feel like when finding love,
hey, hold on. It's 11:11. See,
finding love.
No, seriously, like when finding love, you guys are both supposed to make compromises and sacrifices and learn to love each other. Not everything's going to be great right off the bat. As far as Travis Hunter and his girl, I do wish them the best. They are both very young. They are both engaged, getting married, okay? Young love. I don't want to shoot that down for them, okay? If they understand each other and that's what's, makes them comfortable in their situations and they can keep each other secure, if that works for them, it works for them. It's not going to work for the majority of us. I do believe that people can grow on people. Does it happen? Like Mace made a great point. Usually if that frustrates somebody at the beginning, in the end, it's probably still will, but people can grow to like somebody that's not dead.
Yeah.
So everybody's situation is different. I respect them for even being public and vocal about their love and relationships because we don't see that. So if he's happy, let the man do what he do.
You know what else grows? Mold, man. That grows on shit too. So you just sit there and say shit grows on people. Mold also just grows on shit. So she's right. She do grow on people. Sometimes it could be more. Secondly, what I'll say to stack compromise is this. I did compromise. And if you bring your son to the table for me to compromise about, I'm not coming in up here and you coming in down here and be like, meet me in the
With
middle.
an attitude.
Yeah, like my nigga, Mason, man, listen to a freestyle Mason, and I know it's just freestyle, but it's for my life. My bitch is 10 out of 10 and she don't talk back. And I'm not saying I don't want a woman to talk back, but I dug that bar. I like a little feisty bitch sometimes, get a little attitude with me. I'm not gonna sit there and say that I want that. I thought it was a hot bar. But if you're coming into my mansion with a gym sport and a hockey bag, listen, I'd let you in here. Let me put you in a position to grow so where you got your own organism, your own shit, and we can help you grow. Don't talk to me crazy at Polo Tropical cashier. You know what I'm saying? Like, because Larry's like looking at me. I fuck with a Polo Tropical cashier. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, let's figure it out. But don't think you're coming in even. Yeah. I'll build you up to be even, but we're not gonna be even. Last thing I'll say, you know how many times I've been at McDonald's back in the days and be like, one in the morning, like, yo, just quit. You got a better chance coming with me. If it don't work out, it's bad McDonald's. You can go back to McDonald's. And then I made a bitch quit McDonald's one in the morning, had sex with her, a couple days, stayed in my crib, and set up with her own business. She got her own business today. But that's the opportunity you get sometimes when you fuck with a nigga like that. But she still work with us to this day, but she was out at McDonald's. But you can't come in talking crazy, my nigga. Travis Hunter is up. More of the story. I didn't even want to have the last word, but when you said grow, I was like, Mo.
Yeah. Basically said, know your place.
No, but it ain't even know your place, sorry, because I don't want to come off like that. I just want a chick to end up being even with me. Now, if you already, sometimes you may meet a chick in you there, and you be like, I want to learn something from her. Let me figure out what the fuck that she did to get where she at.
Yeah, you can't be talking to her, giving her a hard time, and she passed where you are.
Yeah, and I like her. Yeah, let me shut the fuck up and learn a few things so I can be on her page and we can have great sex and everything else. That's what it's about too. Now, that's another thing. I told y'all that white girls be on demon time. It may not have nothing to do with anything else. She might be slurping that nigga to sleep every 25 minutes. Travis get an attitude. Yo, come here, let me suck the dick, nigga. Nigga like, oh man, let her do what she want to do, man. I'm telling you. And I know that's not a popular topic in this room, but for me, I don't care. I know what they be doing, yo. You're not just going to be having an attitude on Channel 5 or CBS, Fox Sports, ESPN with Travis Hunter. And you ain't slurping them up crazy. He let you get away with that because you put them on the bed. Not only that, they live together. They just moving nobody in there 21, 22 years old. Yeah, he wanted us to come down there the last couple of years, Murder. Yeah. I was saying to myself that maybe this is a job for you and I'll just have your back like security because I'm too harsh. But Coach Prime been telling us, and he loves his kids. He loves his kids. That's why he wants us to talk to the kids to say, these are two guys who's been successful for going on 30 years. And they still are successful and still are financially doing well, thank God. So let them have a conversation with you guys how to maintain money for 30 years, how to be in the loop for 30 years, how to not get caught up in the wrong thing. And he's been asking that. So he see it, you know.
And then just real quick about buying stuff for women. Yeah, y'all got to chill on that because the purse will stay even when y'all go and it doesn't make sense when you're in college. Like, just make smart decisions. That's all I'm going to say.
Yo, Marty, you going to go talk to the kids?
Yeah. I think that's just you getting a fly for somebody else. I always thought that.
That's a good quote. That's the truth. And y'all need to know that. So.
Yeah, you know, with me, you know what's crazy, Murder? It's crazy because we, like you said, grew up on the Snoop era. And
Too Short.
Dr. Dre, Easy, whatever. And me too. But I get a little older, bitch can get a little person if she do the right thing. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna frame, you know. I'm in my 40s, I got a little budget. And the budget is, and you know what it is? It's gonna be different parts of life, but the budget is more like, I got you, so harass me. Sometimes it's about, for me, it's about you because I like you. Sometimes don't harass. I got you this. Leave me alone until I hit you.
So the sugar baby contract.
Yeah, my nigga, I know it ain't a popular space right now. My nigga Drizzy said I gave her a 10-piece down, mean that I'm fucking with her like that.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, so sometimes, you know, I'm not at the line saying if it ain't tricking if you got it, I'm not one of them niggas. I'm definitely not one of them niggas. But maybe if you do the right thing, man. Look, I'll be honest. Bitch clean my crib, cook, do all type of shit, everything. I tell you, and I know I'm being rude when I'm talking. Not rude, harsh, I should say brash. Yo, suck my dick, you're not making a face when I ask you to do it? I'm doing Louis. You ain't giving me, yo, come here, give me some of that. I don't need all that. Wait till I finish. Nah. Sorry, guys.
Hey, you know, whatever y'all took from it, free game. Choose what you want. Do what you want. Good luck. That's all
what you like.
That's all the time that we have for today. Thank y'all for watching. And as always.
All right. That was an interesting video for Shoot the Breeze. But when will our men wake up? So most of you probably have heard of the so-called controversy of Travis Hunter, who's a college football player. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure he won the Heisman Trophy, the highest honor in college football, a couple of days ago. And he's a black kid, In fact, while a panelist is talking, I'll pull up a picture of him as a reference. He's a black kid. He, kind of a goofy looking black kid. I'm not judging him negatively when I say that, but he has this. I guess is a white woman, and she made a comment of when she first met him, he wasn't her type, but he eventually grew on her. And a lot of people are saying to the kid, maybe you should let this woman go. Clearly, she's not here for you, but she's here because of where your potential will take you. And as a matter of fact, someone found that she was commenting and dropping heart eye emojis on a basketball player's on a basketball player's post on Instagram, Anthony Edwards, who's also an up and coming young basketball star. So, this is really what the discussion is around. When will our men wake up? This thing that Umar calls the snow bunny crisis. When will we wake up from that and do better? Let me start with Jose to talk about. Jose, what say you to all of it?
At some point I lost the subject completely because I was getting flashbacks from disgusting scenarios backstage. But anyway, um, I don't think it's a modern. We just spoke about it. These this about disciplining children. So a lot has changed. Those children that are becoming adults right now, they I saw the video. I saw the video too. Let me share that. So I saw the video, and what I was looking at was how we behaved when we were 14, right? When we were 13, 14, in my days, like in the 80s. So I saw a schoolyard. I saw a girl, a woman speak about a schoolyard crush, like so it wasn't it didn't feel that estranged, to be honest. And it's not a black or white thing. I think it's the Western. Trigger happy said it in the comments. Let me see. Um, I believe Trigger Happy already mentioned it in the comments. These Western relationships are like loose, fodder. How you call it? Like leaves of a tree in the wind, right? Leaves of a family tree in the wind. I mean, it is what it is. Arranged, you know, um, a ma- a marriage is a is uh, a transaction. It's a transaction of values of two bloodlines, two families, two clans, however you want to call it, and it has to be more than, oh, I like you, or oh, she's good looking, etc. And I didn't see nothing strange. I the video didn't shock me. I don't know what men or black men need to learn. I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't understand the prompt, but yeah, I said what I said. I underline what Trigger Happy already said in the comments. That's it.
Appreciate that, Jose. Trigger Happy said this whole debacle, when I heard about it, just reinforces the point that Western dating is too freeform and not organized. Dating and matchmaking needs a vetting system. I agree with that too, by the way. Um, so I am to be corrected. Who said it? I am to be corrected that apparently the woman is, as KW Dawn 7 said, multiracial, to be accurate. And then Anthony came and said his girlfriend is half Mexican, half black. And yes, he's full of low self-esteem and internal self-hate. So she's half black, half Mexican. I thought she was like, oh, I did think something was up with her because she looked a little, whatever, not quite white, but I thought she was a full blown white woman. So I stand corrected on that. By the way, shout out to Takru Tori. I saw him in the chat earlier. Didn't get to shout him out. Hopefully he's still out there as well. Trigger Happy 262 Plus in the chat says a social network, eldership, and your family giving you clarity on red flags to me is important. But again, people are motivated by very fleeting emotions that blind them from potential harm. Cheryl says this scenario right here is exactly why our children need racial pride. Wow, really well said, Cheryl. Trigger says because matchmaking is not organized in black communities in the West, people don't understand that there needs to be a community dynamic in family planning. This is why people say love is love. LOL. With that said, let's hear from Buana. Buana, what say you to all this?
Yeah. So Coco, I am, for me personally, I'm confused about in terms of when it's just whoever from Greek, like when will our men learn to wake up? I kind of I don't know. I don't want to misinterpret what the person was trying to get at. So I'll just comment on the video itself. And I'm not gonna be judgmental of the rapper Cameron, um, but I think he is like 48 years old, and to be at this point and still referring to women as bitches, man, I think that maybe I'm not from Harlem. Maybe that's the general terminology on how you refer to women, but to only see them as that pejorative, bitches, bitches, bitches. That's all they hear them say, bitches, bitches, and sucking my. I'm like, bro, is that the only thing that women is useful for, sucking their dick? I'm like, so what happens when you get sick? Women. What happens when you hungry? And not to say that women should only cook for you. What happened? My woman rubbed my back today. Yeah, I mean, it's like you only see women as sexual or objects to to get off. So you might as well get prostitutes because you don't want a woman. You want someone who could facilitate your sexual desires and that alone. Because there's nothing else that I could say in how you refer to women outside of, oh, I will need to get. The whole conversation is about getting your dicks up and then referring to the woman as bitch. You 48 years old. You don't think that you could change your frame of reference and how you refer to females? I don't know. In terms of, but like I said, I'm not judging no one. I don't know what their circumstances is and where they come from. Um, me and I have a disposition in terms of celebrityism. I don't watch celebrities, and anyone who I can influence, I would tell them to stay away from these idea influence. This particular guy here, what's unfortunate to me is he is just this is a rerun. This is a rerun of many different athletes that we have seen in the past who form relationships with others and we know everybody, the whole world, they know they gold diggers. The list is so long, and I'm saying that it's almost tragic. It's almost tragic. But what can you say to this experience? These people reproduce themselves over and over and over again. There must be something about this particular female that he looks within the community where he came from and say, this is the best option for me. So I don't know what his circumstances is. I really don't know. I really don't know. But at this point in our understanding, because we're an information age, I think that fathers and men within our community should stay clear and far away from celebrity and celebrityism. That's not gonna take you nowhere no more. You know what I mean? Because these people are repeating themselves. They literally repeating themselves. They the white girl, they the Mexican girl, they the a girl who you really don't even know. I don't know. It's just very strange to me. It's extremely weird to me. But that's what they want to do. I can't tell what other men should do with their own particular lives, but I'm happy with the black females in my life and the women around me, and I feel lucky. So when you say, "When will our men wake up?" Please, I would say whoever created this prompt, not all men are created equal. So it'll be wrong to put every black man in the same category and kind of thinking. Because for the majority, for the most part, many of us don't think this way. Many of us don't think this way. And we ain't trying to run away from black women. I like black women. Black women cool. They always been to me. But I'll leave it there for someone else to go, man.
Appreciate that, Buano. Let me see if Marcus Garvey is awake and hear us. Can you hear us? Marcus Garvey is awake.
Yes.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Welcome to the panel. It's been a
Oh,
long
okay.
time.
Yo, I've never heard her voice before. Shut up. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right.
Marcus Garvey is
Yeah.
awake. Did you follow this prompt just now?
Yeah, I was listening and I don't know if I felt like some of my brain cells were dying as I was listening. Um I felt for his age he was talking a lot of bullshit. Like he doesn't know how to have a relationship. I understand the when you're younger and you're having fun, but after a while it's almost the person that was speaking was 48 years old. The man that was speaking.
Yeah, the guy on the left is Cam. He's a rapper. Yeah, he's about 48. Yeah,
Okay, and he was the one that was talking about the women.
he was the one who was referring to women as bitches and stuff like that. But they were talking about this particular guy on the screen right now, Travis
Oh
Hunter.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, yeah. I don't know. It's I understand whoever was talking about their own personal experiences with women and how they view women, but um it's hard to judge. I mean, people saw the picture and of the young man and the woman, and yes, they made their comment, but he's just gonna be one of many others. I mean, if she is gonna use him for his money, he's just gonna be one of many others. Are they gonna learn their lesson? I don't think so. I really don't. I mean, it's not like it's new. You can say that what's this guy? Muhammad Ali had the same situation. Was it Muhammad Ali? Most black men that get famous in America have the same issue. Some white woman gonna tag on to you. You either shake her off your leg or you keep her. So most of them just keep her. So it's America, yeah. Because I feel in the Caribbean, it might be happening more like how Michelle Montano or what do you call him? That cricketer Brian Lara. I don't think they got married to black women, but at the end of the day, you can't stop people from doing what they're doing. And men in power want to have a pretty girl on their shoulder, right? I mean, except Charles Barkley, but you know, it is what it is.
Charles Barkley, for as big of a star as he was, he has. I mean, my God, he has the worst looking white woman you've ever seen. My
Nasty
goodness.
looking, boy. It's
He
nasty.
might have had some head. His vision might be off. You never know,
My
Or he
yeah.
might he might like them a little masculine looking too, because she don't look quite. Does he have kids?
Oh, Charles Barkley?
Yeah.
Yeah, he has a daughter.
Oh, she managed to pop out one. Okay.
Yeah, he has a daughter.
Okay.
Anthony McPhail in the chat says Muhammad Ali didn't mess with white women. So you could have been talking about Jim Brown or one of them guys. Those guys had that problem with messing with white women. So I think that's really what the conversation is about, is when will, not all black men, but when will black men in these positions get it together and change up the way they're doing things. Did we lose someone from the panel? I think we lost Jose. Um, thank you for that, Marcus Garvey is away. Let's hear from Black Steel on this. Black Steel would say it. Black Steel, you're muted if you're talking.
My bad. Is that better?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, yeah, first of all, I want to say thank you for the palate cleanse, right? We've been talking about some real heavy, deep subjects. So, every now and then a little lighter subject is appreciated. I think that the issue, as far as the question is, um, when will black men learn? I don't think it's about race at all. Because the young lady, again, she's black. She's a black parent, black and Mexican, of course. In the United States, if you got one black parent, you're black, right? But I think the issue is rather the fact that she said that he wasn't her type initially, right? I think that is the sticking point. And I'm not gonna focus on Cam's language, but I do think the fact that when he met the young lady, she wasn't really interested in him. She had to be persuaded. And I guess to me, I would say, who wants to be anybody's second choice, right? Who wants to be the person that she like, it's almost like she found out that you were an athlete and you had potential, and she was like, oh well, maybe I'll be with him now. But your initial meeting, she really couldn't be bothered. To me, that in itself is kind of offensive, right? Like, why did you change your mind? And it could be, hey, I got to know him, you know maybe his personality won me over. But it seems like through her and the way she's behaving, like she's not really feeling the young brother. It feels like she's just along for the ride because you hit your wagon to a star. She sees he's an upcoming star. He won the Heisman Trophy. Um, yeah, and now because of that, she just reevaluated her whole thing. Plus the fact that she would go to parties and make him sit outside and he would wait for her. Like, it's not really giving, as the kids say, it's not giving the fact that she's really into the young man. It seems like she's really into what he can do and what he can do for her. But I don't think, and I think that's like when we're going to learn, like when are you going to learn to spot certain behaviors and attitudes and patterns? And the concern is that he's a young athlete. She's going to hitch herself to him, have a couple babies by him, and then she's going to hit the eject button and live out her life, um, living off his hard work. So people are concerned because they see this young man and they don't want to see him go through it the way so many other athletes have. To me, the comment about not being someone's first choice, that kind of makes me feel some type of way. It does. Because who do you who is your choice, right? What is the type of man that you go for? Um and if I'm not your type, why are you with me? Why are you dealing with me? Now I see her up in the advertisements or whatnot. I've never seen a basketball player or a football player's girlfriend in a Nike commercial with them. I've never seen that in my life. So it seems like she's trying to get a little bit of the fame also. Um, yeah, that's just my issue with this, is that she initially wasn't attracted. Now all of a sudden she attracted. What changed? He didn't change. He's the same person he's always been. So I don't know how into you she really is. And a lot of times as men, we don't always recognize the signs, right? We don't. She could. Many people feel that statement from her about not liking him like that is a red flag. I personally, think it's a red flag. Um, and she's not into you except for what you can bring to the relationship, be it your money. And when you lose your money, she's gonna be gone just as fast. So, yeah, I'll leave it there. Thanks, Kofi.
I appreciate that, Black Steel. Yeah, Cheryl says something interesting. Uh, First, she says she wasn't attracted to him. Look at his African features, right? But she will put up with him because of money. But earlier, she said something else that I thought was interesting. She said, it's giving white woman behavior. And, Jose in the chat, Jose's phone died. He'll be back. Jose in the chat asked a question, why is she not considered black?
I would say she is. I'm sorry. If you heard that, I said she is considered black.
Yeah, that's interesting. See, I was under the mistaken thing. I thought she was white because a lot of her behavior is like white woman behavior type stuff. So it's a very interesting thing. So I guess the argument is not about her being a white woman, clearly, because she's half black, half Mexican. She does have some white behaviors, but it's about this red flag of, well, I wasn't interested in you, but then I learned about you, and now I'm interested in you. That's a red flag situation. So with that framing of it, would anyone with Buana or Marcus Garvey's way want to comment on the situation with that particular framing now?
I'm gonna tell you something, and it may not be received well. But when it comes to these athletes and this money, all women have the potential to be white women. They're all gonna behave as well. I don't think it's a white thing or not. I think it's all women have the potential to be quote unquote white women when it comes down to these type of athletes and getting to the bag.
All right, so I guess Buana may have nothing to add, but here's a follow-up question from Trigger Happy 262 Plus. He says, would you all accept the use of vetting systems and arranged marriages in black communities in the West? I'll simply say I absolutely believe in it. I mentioned it some months back. I was having a conversation with some young Muslim women, college women. And they were talking about, if I can't find love marriage, I'm talking about 19, 20, 21 years old. If I can't find love marriage in 2 years, I go to my parents and we get arranged marriage. I want to be married. That's something very, I don't know. There's something about it that feels good about that kind of thing. And I wish we did more of it. In fact, one of the things I wish we would do as people who talk about getting organized and being in organizations, that's one of the things I noticed that was lacking in most organizations. You would find young men and young women in organizations, but when you look at who they're dating someone outside of the organization who's not even into what they're into in terms of the organization. That biblical thing about the unequally yoked type thing. And I find that to be a travesty. I find it to be a travesty that in a lot of black organizations, we aren't tackling dating, relationships, matchmaking, whatever you want to call it. And I think that's something that we need to start to look at a little bit more closely. But I'll throw it to the panelists. Anyone can answer. What do you
Coco,
thought?
I
Yeah.
don't think that we are there yet. I don't think that we are there yet personally. If I were to allow my parents to choose my partner for me, she probably be some religious Christian zealot, and that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous at this point. And I would probably only take advantage of her in her niceness and her beliefs in the world. I don't think that would be wise. I think that if we was in our right minds, maybe, but not at this point. I don't think that that would be a good idea.
So when is a good time? I mean, shouldn't we be working towards these things now?
Coco, are you going to tell your people am I in here in the mines either? But if they was here, how would I change a 78, seven? Oh no, let me say that. 50 years old. Let's say my mother was 50. in her religious indoctrinations, and she wanted to find a good life partner or wife for me. I'm not into that bullshit. So how do you how do you allow the decision making up to the adults in that
So,
scenario? How do
so
you?
Buana, what about you and your potential children?
Oh gosh, I would want Lord of mercy. I would want my child to marry a person who loves them. But I have black politics. I have black politics. I have black politics, Koku. So I would want to choose. I would want to choose a life partner, or wife, or a person that I believe would be suitable. But children or have their own minds, and they're gonna do what they want to do anyways. I can't force a wife down my son's throat, nor can I force a husband down my daughter's throat. But the only thing I could do is to show them what I believe in, show them the ideas in which I believe in, and let them decide for themselves. I can't ram it down their throat, cuckoo. I can't do it. How can I do that?
Well, I don't know what the Ramadan your throat thing is, but I think that I think that if we're talking about being organized and being in organizations and having an ideology, I don't think you have to force anything down anyone's throat. Once you've had once you set up the foundation on this ideology, like you said, you use the term political or politics. But if you have this ideology, I don't think it's ramming it down your throat. I think it's something that and it's not just about individuals too, by the way. I think it's something that we as a collective need to start looking into, man. We've done it this way, the way we've been doing it, and frankly, it's mostly failing. I think it comes to a point where we got to get this thing in order, and we got to be deliberate about what we want from our future starting now. We got to be deliberate about putting, you know, our folks together as opposed to doing the love is love and love who you all that nonsense that leads nowhere. You know what I mean? I just think it's something that at some point you gotta set your feet in the soil and you gotta do it. You know, Marcus Garvey is doing. Do you have any thoughts on that? Your mic is muted, Marcus Garvey is doing.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Um, yeah, I think it's a concept that makes sense. I recently heard something on YouTube that said that the idea of dating is only since the 1980, like not 1980s, like 1890 something, like the dating that we have now is more of a newer concept in human history because before everything was arranged. Even, in the early 1800s, mid 1800s, like the rich would marry families into each other, and it was never for love. Um, People married into certain families because they knew one another. And when I was in Virginia at one point, I remember there was like a group of friends, college friends. Most of them were Black conscious, and they raised their kids knowing one another in the attempt that, when it was times for those kids to seek a partner, that they would look among those the people that they grew up with first, because a lot of the parents said, they don't want their kids marrying into questionable families and stuff. They knew these people from college, and their kids know these people from all their life, so they felt more comfortable um having their kids choose. But to be honest, I think only one couple came out of that. Like one of my friends, her son ended up with one of the girls. But all the kids gonna get together and say, oh yeah, let me pair off with somebody else. So I think people are attempting it, but even today, I have a friend of mine. Her son is a little bit older. She dropped a comment about my daughter being old enough to be with her son, because he was like, he's a decent guy, and he looking for a decent girl. So So she was like, "Oh, how old's your daughter again?" So I think ideally some parents would want that, but we're living in a world where people are going to choose who they want. I have a friend who's a Jew, and both her sons, end up being with Muslim Pakistanis, actually two sisters. So, um, and she was looking for a black person to be with her kids, and they didn't even go that route. So you can attempt, but realistically, it might work for some families, the arranged concept, but you're living in a time and a world where people want to go and choose for themselves. So it is what it is.
Appreciate that. Marcus Garvey is way. Is there any last thoughts on this prompt tonight? There have been so many comments, but Anthony McPhail says it here. We would have to do it along African-centered lines, just like Jews keep their communities internal. I like that. Trigger Happy says, of course, and honestly, that's the point. Organizing your matchmaking allows for you to date only black. And he says that to Anthony McPhail. Last comment I'll read, he said, Trigger says, black people will cry when other groups of people don't date them, but when they are organizing their marriage, they already cut you off the list. So good commentary from the chat. Well done stuff. Let's move to Shoot the Breeze topic number 4 tonight, though. Shoot the Breeze topic number 4 says, what would you be doing in a unified Africa? This takes us to Twitter and a post. What would you be doing in a unified Africa? Hold on a second. I hate when that happens. Give me a second. Share my screen again. Let's take us to a post from Ace on Twitter. It says, if Marcus Garvey's ultimate goal was accomplished long ago, I'd imagine I'd be serving the United African Military right now, owning a lot of land on a farm after retiring. Got one response that said from Rafik that says so real. So this is a interesting post. I thought there was more to it, but it's interesting in that. Sorry, I guess I didn't share the screen properly. But there it is on the screen from Ace. If Marcus Garvey's ultimate goal was accomplished long ago, I'd imagine I'd be serving the United African Military right now, owning a lot of land and a farm after retiring. Right? So I guess it's like a thought thing. What would you be doing in a United Africa? Cheryl in the chat says, good question. She said that she'd be learning more African languages. So let's just go through it, I guess, kind of casually. Let's start with Marcus Garvey is the way. What would you be doing in a unified Africa?
Well, I think ideally you would think that you would be successful, but we must remember that some people were village idiots as well. So everybody thinks they're going to be successful if they were to go to Africa when they're not even successful in the world they're in. And at this point, and sometimes it's not for race, it's just personal ability. But for myself, I think I would enjoy being in a small hut, in a small village, carrying some water on my head with about 12 kids, dancing to some drums. Shoot.
I appreciate that. Marcus Garvey, were you done with your response? I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, yeah, I was.
Okay.
12 kids is insane.
"12 kids is 12 more Africans on the planet." Shoot.
Man, imagine your 12 kids though. Good God.
Well, my grandparents on my father's side had 10 children, at least that survived. I don't know if there was more. And on my mother's side, my grandmother had 17 children. So it wasn't
People
unheard
had
of.
people had big families back then because of the high mortality rate.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to be on one of the villages that's more coastal, and I think my people are a coastal people because we have that sickle cell trait, and I think they said they could have narrowed down to a specific area. So yeah. And to be honest, if you have 12 kids, we're saying, "Oh my God, 12 kids is horrible." No, but that's thinking Western. I don't even think the mortality rate was for Africans. I think that mortality rate I think was more for Europeans. People had children as wealth in other parts of the world. It wasn't for mortality. Europeans had to breed and hope that some lived because they were a sickly bunch. But I think the rest of the world had kids because they understood that kids nothing was wrong with having kids. Exactly. Exactly.
For me, I would probably be serving on the uh, Supreme Court of Africa as one of the judges, or I would be like a technocrat in Africa, trying to institute like technology there. I would have for three African wives, one from the Caribbean, of course, one from South America, Brazil or whatever, of course, and one from the continent. I gotta have the three. I gotta have the three. Uh, and probably I would probably like to be a teacher, like how Black Steel teaches, but probably on a collegiate level, not necessarily like in tertiary education. I would be a teacher. I think that I could see myself doing that. As far as where I would want the continent to go. So I could see myself in one of them three roles. I don't know if I was to dream, because some of the things I do currently. So I would probably want to get into one of those kinds of things if we had a united Africa. You know.
Good stuff. Jose, what would you be doing if we had a united Africa?
I think, yeah, what I'm doing now, a little bit of agriculture, but yeah, the little bit I want it to grow. I want actually a piece of land where I need more than one tractor, and and yes, sharing experience, sharing knowledge. Um, y- y- uh, I've been on it, but it didn't quite work out. So I've recently rebooted. I'm farming again, and everything is in the planning. So yeah, I would be doing what I've been doing past decade. Yeah, just be part, just be a gear in the machine.
I feel you on that one. Yeah, just to be a gear in the machine. I like that. With that said, Black Steel, what would you be doing in the United Africa?
Well, I would say this. I'd probably be doing what I'm doing now as far as education. I probably, instead of being in the classroom though, I think I probably would be making curriculum. I would probably make um, more African centered lessons plans. Even when we're dealing with things outside of Africa, I want our focus, our point of view to be the one we're coming from. So many times we teach lessons as though through the white lens. So I would teach it through the African lens, through the lens of African people. So that's probably what I'll be doing, just working on curriculum. Hell, I'm pretty sure we probably have to deal with warfare and whatnot. Working with survivors, working with the young people would be my desire. I don't desire any type of ostentatious wealth or multiple wives or 100 kids. I'm cool with kids that the kids I have already. They get on my nerves. So, but yeah, I could definitely see myself just creating curriculum, creating lessons. And in this United Africa, we actually get paid a decent amount, so I wouldn't have to stress about the finances because we get paid. Since we're coming up with stuff, we get paid a livable wage, and we don't have to struggle. That would be what I'd be doing.
Yeah, Cheryl likes a lot of what you guys were saying. Anthony in the chat says he would be in infrastructure construction. I like that. He said he would be in roads, electricity, water systems, etc. It's pretty neat. Cheryl says she'll be teaching generations about racial preservation. Teach that mixing is not progressive. Earlier, I'm trying to find where he said it, but Trigger Happy had a response to this too. And he said, no, that's not it. But he said, I can't find it. But, oh, yeah, he said his answer to this is that you'd probably be a political advisor or diplomat or both. He says, I would be an African polyglot. I would be a screenwriter on major projects too and traveling the African world. He had an additional thing that he added to it as well. He says, to add to my answer too, I definitely have a publishing company on animation and be part of environmentalism. But then again, I don't think we would call it environmentalism up to that point. Yeah, I like everything everyone had to say. Me personally, I would be in, if I really had my way, I would be in arts and science. That's all. I'll just leave it at that. I'll be in arts and science, and in an African-centered way. So that's all good stuff. Is there any last thoughts on this prompt by anyone? Any additional info they'd like to provide? All right, so let's go to should be topic number 5. Probably will be our last topic for tonight. Just trying to grab it right now. But should be topic number 5 says. Should be topic number 5. Well, why isn't it coming up? Should be topic number 5 says. Fat Joe addresses the FBA mental illness. Fat Joe addresses the FBA mental illness. This is taking us to Twitter. This is taking us to YouTube. My bad. What we'll do is we'll watch the video. We'll watch it and then we'll comment on it. I don't know why it's acting up. Can you guys see my screen? No, that's the problem. All right, give me 1 second. All right, so here we go. Here we go. All right, so we'll watch the video and then we'll discuss it.
Sometimes I say shit I've been saying for years, and the shit just go, you. Sometimes I say shit I've been saying for years, and the shit just go, You believe Fat Joe said hip hop was Puerto Rican and black? Whoa! My God, the world changed on me, nigga. I'm like, yo!
No, you know what?
Where you been?
Let's get into that. Because I think people outside of New York, it's hard for them to understand, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Trinidadians, Jamaicans, Guyanese,
First of all, let's start by this.
Barbadians,
Let's
just
start by
all
this.
around each other.
Let's start by this. These rumors were made by radical black racists. Let's just say that. Okay? It's a group of these guys that don't want to hear Jamaican, don't want to hear Guyanese, they don't want to hear a black guy that ain't down with them.
Right.
Right? So their job is to criticize anybody who don't look like them or who ain't black American.
Who are these guys?
You want me to say their name? We're going to give them too much clout.
I mean,
the FBA, Foundational Black Authority, whoever the fuck these broke niggas is. I'm just keeping it a buck. And their shit is to attack everybody on Twitter. You see this nigga who run them? Like, your leader? Yo, man, you gotta be fucking kidding me, man. And so they trying to change the narrative. They're not from New York.
Right.
So they telling a whole nother story. This was whoopity doop wop. Yo, bro. Far as I know, we're at Yankee Stadium right now, and it's hip hop's 50th birthday. And the guy who invented it, Grandmaster Flash, my brother carried his crates. My babysitters made up let me hear you say ho. It's two girls, twins, used to babysit me. They made up, let me hear you say ho. So they have a big problem, these guys, right? So they're against anybody who ain't with them. So this ain't a popular message. This ain't what everybody's saying. We might be giving them too much light right here is what I'm trying to tell you.
Right.
So there's a small minority to get on them Twitters and they running it up. We got a fucking Looney Tune like your man Lord Jamal, who's a fucking Looney Tune.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he's a loony bin, right? We just said that the drug of choice is attention. It's this and this and that. They get a guy who, he was a legend. He's brand Nubian.
Right.
And he's the wackest nigga in the crew, to be clear. But now, this nigga might be like trying to get lit, trying to say anything. The world's flat, this, that, anything to go viral. I just told you I stopped my shit because I go too viral. I'm scared. I'm too viral.
Right. I think we in the information era. Some people just they see so many paths, they decide to pick one, and some of them ain't the most popular one. So, they just.
But what I'm trying to tell you is that this opinion comes from a tribe.
Right.
It comes from a group of people that hate everybody but them. There's radical Jews, there's radical Catholics, there's radical Puerto Ricans.
Right.
There's radical anything. If you do enough of that shit, enough of in-house racism, you wind up looking at the world fucked up and you can't even move around.
Right.
You understand? So that's how this shit come about. These guys don't like nobody but them. So hey, fuck that, this guy, well, how could he say this? How could he? Bro, have you been to my hood? Do you know where I'm from? We did my brother's funerals. More black people than Spanish people at the funeral sitting next to my mother. Do you know where the fuck I'm from? But you trying to tell us what happened over here. All the legends I know, when I go to the legendary shit, they're all black and Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
And I sit there with them and I'm like, and they don't believe it. They don't understand. They don't understand like that talk. They're like, yo, what the fuck is this about? Like, they're confused. The pioneers, the Grandmaster Flashes, the Cool Hercs, the Melly Mel's, they're like, yo, we don't know what the fuck these people talking about. Because they on Twitter and they doing a little something, but I don't know what the fuck these people doing. Like, they're confused. They fucked with the wrong nigga. That's the problem. Fat Joe the wrong one. He always been the wrong one. He the Achilles of this shit. He gonna come out with that. So you remember Achilles? They wait for the nigga. They look. Is he coming out? Is he coming out? Achilles run out with the sword. Oh my God! They got him up out the tent. This nigga, yo, this is wrong. He don't care. He ain't scared of nobody. He don't give a fuck. He don't care. He got his own money. Fuck you gonna do to me? Like, you fucked up. You know what I'm saying? You best leave me alone.
I sometimes wonder if when Fat Joe and them and others who says that Puerto Ricans were involved in the creation of hip hop, I wonder if they're talking about more African Puerto Ricans, because we ignore that a lot. We ignore that there's a set of Puerto Ricans who are just African in phenotype. And I could very well see African phenotype Puerto Rican just being a part of the group of black folks who was creating this art form. I always remember Spike Lee film where he shows the Puerto Ricans on the stoop playing their music, and Radio Raheem comes through with his boombox and cranks up the music and outplays them, and it clearly shows that they weren't down with hip hop. They was listening to their suavemente shit, and they weren't really checking for no hip hop. And I always remember that, and I believe Spike Lee would be a good candidate to remember that type of thing back in the day when hip hop was beginning. So I always wonder that. Cheryl says he didn't say that though. See, that's the thing. I don't know if him and most of those folks are even thinking along those lines of, it was Afro Puerto Ricans, right? I think they might be just saying it was just Puerto Ricans. You know what I mean? Levels of consciousness and such. But it's an interesting conversation to be had. Fat Joe addresses the FBA mental illness. Joe said, what say you to what you just heard?
I'm into hip hop very early, and I had the impression that yes, Puerto Ricans were there, especially in New York. I was an early fan of Schoolie D, and that's Philly. I don't know about the demographics in the United States, but from the outside, from here, from an early hip hop fan, uh, it looks like New York is very very Puerto Rican also. So I thought I thought I thought they were part. As you called me in, I was typing Rocksteady Crew. So yeah, I don't know, man. These old movies, breakdance or Beat Street. I mean Beat Street, not breakdance. Breakdance was kind of, if you look back, it was very gay. But anyway, Beat Street, yeah, you see, it's mixed. It's Puerto Rican. The graffiti artists. So in graffiti, you also had these names like Lee and other very early Puerto Ricans involved in hip hop culture. Full stop. Breakdance, graffiti, and music. Let me say music because I'm looking for vocalists in my memory, and I don't remember them so much. But yeah, at least graffiti, breakdance, and and yeah, the 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 way clothes, yes, the culture. And I believe they are part of it. And I'm yeah, I must admit I'm with the fat guy. I'm with the fat dude on this one. Thanks.
Interesting. Very interesting, Joe. So you with Fat Joe on this one. Okay. I don't have a problem with that. Marcus Garvey is the way. What are your thoughts here?
Hi, you can hear me?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, hi. Um, my first thing was, I was wondering why in our lifetime no one remembers who started hip hop. It's not like it was two lifetimes ago, two generations ago. I suspect it was within this generation. And even with stuff being recorded and stuff, why no one knows the origin is kind of weird. Like, even if this is happening within our lifetime, then I gotta cite a lot of things that happened before, in terms of history and origin, because I'm assuming hip hop was in what, the 70s, 80s, 90s. When did it originate?
73.
Okay, so that was like 5 years before I was born. Um, you tell me all the stuff being recorded, nobody can figure out who started it. Like, what is the issue? And in terms of FBA, I'm just happy I haven't been in America for the last few months as often, in terms of the drama, because I can't believe that nonsense is still going on. And Tariq is gonna have his followers like everybody else. I mean, even excuse me, even if Jim Jones had followers, of course Tariq will have followers. It's very easy to hate. It's very easy to not think. It's very easy to divide. So if they want to start a riff on how hip hop started, I just can't understand. If people were recording music, why is it so hard to find the origin? Like, where was the first record? Who was the first singers? I mean, it can't be that hard. There were movies coming out in the 30s and 40s recorded. Why is it so hard to find out who started hip hop? Is it because it started in the streets? But there's always people recording stuff in the streets. So even back in those days, 73 is not that long ago. I mean, we are not geriatric. We are not that old. Stuff was being recorded at that time. Why is it so hard to find the origin? That's all.
August Gavi is the way you asked a very interesting question. So one of the things that I find perplexing, and Fat Joe touches on it a little bit, folks who are outside of New York City at the time, folks who were not in the Bronx, are folks who are now telling you who was and who wasn't involved in the creation of the art form. But I have this question to ask, and anyone can answer it along the way. How is it that when I was a kid in the 80s, mid to late 80s, and hearing hip hop, how was it that since that time in the early 90s, it's always been talked about how Jamaicans played this huge role in the development of this art form? And no one said anything contrary to that. It's only now, in the last couple of years, when we have what's it called, delineation movements, where now all of a sudden Jamaicans weren't involved. Cool Herc wasn't involved. It wasn't him. Dudes was doing hip hop in the 30s and all. Like, how is it that now this has come about? And I've been around. Not quite when hip hop started. I was born a few years after, but I've been around like the whole time, and I've always heard about the Jamaican presence in hip hop. And now all of a sudden, that's not true. In the chat, we have Razuliism, Haitian brother, just like me, but he's a hip hop head. He says, "Stop the BS. Rap was started by Black Americans." So, Razulia, maybe you could answer some of those questions I just asked just now. First of all, how are you this week?
Oh, I'm fine. Let's not. This is the biggest lie ever that was created. Puerto Ricans, especially the complexion of Fat Joe, had nothing to do with hip hop. Let's stop the cap. If they did invent hip hop, where's the next music genre that they came up with in 50 years? So if they invented hip hop or they invented the break dance, where's the dance that they invented after hip hop? That first of all, people think New Yorkers, the Bronx invented hip hop. A lot of the people who invented hip hop came from down south. I watched something called that was DJ Mario. He was from down south. He started the DJing shit. He started the big boom box. The big boom box that they say came from Jamaica is not true. Black Americans was doing it way before the Jamaicans. And you could tell there's a documentary where they asked the pioneers of Jamaica who invented, where they got those big box, boom box and DJing outside. They got it from America. You ask the Jamaicans how did they come out with reggae music? You know what they said? We were trying to imitate the blues. If you look at Jamaican artists, they were always remaking Black American music. So all of a sudden, it changed. Yo, and this is the problem with black people. Yo, we don't want to be truthful. Busta Rhymes lied. Fat Joe's definitely lying. So if the Puerto Ricans invented hip hop, what the top 10 rappers, are there any Puerto Rican in there? Where they at? At least Jamaica could say Biggie is in one of them. So let's DJ. We bring out, you say Cool Herc or whatever did what he did. There were other DJs that were doing it before him. Even then, let's give Cool Herc the benefit of the doubt. He was not remixing Jamaican album. He was not cutting the breaks with Jamaican. He was doing it with Black American albums. Where are the music from Jamaica that Cool Herc sampled? I'm waiting. Let's stop all the cap. It's okay. Yes, Jamaica had an influence. The Jamaicans had an influence because this Jamaican artists partake in there. Yes, we could say that some Puerto Ricans had to do with it. But let's stop the cap, bro. They want to say, oh, Puerto Ricans invited break it. Really? So show me the other dance that they came up with after, since they were a part of it. We could go and look at history of hip hop, how many different dances that came after breakdance that black people invented. So Fat Joe coming in here and talking about and that's the problem. Now he's saying that now the FBA are gonna be like, oh, are gonna go more back at him because he's a liar. And I could even say salsa got its influence from Black Americans. Salsa that the Puerto Ricans want to cry. No, it was not even them that invented that shit. So for some people to say, I'm with Fat Joe. Fat Joe's a liar. And he's gonna pay for that, just like Busta Rhymes paid for that for all these lies. And I'm not American, and I'm Haitian, so I should say, okay, Haitian had a hand in hip hop too. Because if we go back, we might find some Haitians that were part of hip hop. But you know what? That whole culture did not come from Haiti. So I should say Wyclef was a big. So 40 years from now, I should go and say Wyclef was a big part of inventing hip hop. Jamaicans, yes, they had a big influence. Those FBA people or Lord Jamal are not saying that the Jamaicans didn't participate in it. They just saying that the Jamaicans were not the founders. The Puerto Ricans were not the founders. All the dancing that they talk about. Show me we could look at Jamaicans. Jamaicans in the 90s, Jamaicans have mad different dances that they came up with. From the bogo, from what other, I forget their name, other dances that black people has been inventing year after year after year. Show me since Jose want to talk about break dancing and graffiti, show me what the Puerto Ricans invented after the break dance. And there's more things to say that they say the first graffiti person recorded in time was a black boy. So like, yo, come on, man. And that's the problem when the FBA want to delineate now their culture. You guys, a lot of you, don't ever want to say, yo, they come up with that. And then whether they came up with it by default, because they came up with that. a lot of the Jamaican songs that we remix in the what's his name, Sanchez remix a lot of R&B song. So we're gonna say Sanchez invented R&B too? I don't see Black Americans or the American people remixing Jamaican music. Even Bob Marley, those people back in those days, they were trying to imitate the blues. Reggae came about. But do you see Black Americans saying that we invented reggae? Come on, yo, stop the BS. Give them their props and move along. That's it.
I appreciate that, Azuli. I'll just say for me personally, it's not that I'm trying to take away their props. I don't really have a dog in the race there. My only question has been, I'm almost 50 years old now. Hip hop is 51 years old. From since I was in my home country, I've heard this statement that Jamaicans played this role in the creation of hip hop, and DJ Cool Herc comes up all the time, and I'm saying to you that I've moved to America since 1995. I was just telling Brother Bakari that earlier today. I've never, in the early years I've been here, I met you in 97, right? In the early years that I've been here, I've never heard anyone push back against DJ Cool Herc and Jamaicans playing this role in this early role in hip hop until now when we have these delineation groups. And I find that interesting. Where was that pushback 30 years ago? 40 years ago, 50 years ago, you could have pushed back and said something against it, which makes me believe that, and there's something you said that I like, not this kind of Puerto Rican like Fat Joe and them, but something makes me believe that Africans from Puerto Rico, from the Bronx, from the Caribbean, whatever, played some fundamental roles in hip hop. Just like, and you mentioned it, ska reggae comes from Fats Domino. Jamaica was able to pick up radio stations from New Orleans, and they were imitating it on guitars and stuff like that. And that's how you have the ska sound. It's really from like Fats Domino. So there's always been this cross talk, this cross influence, right, in art forms and stuff when it comes to music in the West. And it all comes from us back, our people back in the continent. But what I care about particularly is how come there was no pushback for 35, 40 years until now. I think
Well,
Black Sea won.
yeah. You know what? First of all, I'm mad that Fat Joe even mentioned these clowns. It's like the Candyman, right? You don't say the Candyman's name in the mirror, come out and attack you, right? So I'm mad that he even gave these clowns this FBA nonsense, this online movement led by a high school dropout and a former pimp. It's really sad we're even having this conversation. But what you're seeing is just a way to rewrite history, right? And history can be rewritten in many ways. If you tell a lie big enough, eventually people will start to believe it. I'll give you an example of a lie that's taught quite regularly, right? The Americans won World War II. That's a lie that's often told. When in reality, it was the Soviet Union that rolled back the Nazi war machine. But if you let history tell it, America was the ones who single-handedly defeated the Nazis, right? And the Soviet Union's contribution was a minor one, if that. The same thing with the hip hop. Now, like you, Koku, like you, I also knew about DJ Kool Herc, and the reality is, there's a lot of cross pollination that comes from all the different musical genres of African people because we are African people. So Black Americans are African people. Jamaicans are African people. There's a lot of funk music, R&B, soul. All of these have an African influence, right? So there can't be any just one person who just woke up and said, you know what? I'm going to create this type of music, right? All these different musical genres pull and they take from and they borrow different things from other genres of music created by African people, right? So DJ Kool Herc, he was the one he's a Jamaican DJ. He's using American funk records. He's doing the breaks and whatnot, and he's taking bits and pieces from a little bit of ingredients from this, a little bit of ingredients from this. The thing is that the FBA, I wouldn't say they're racist, but they are anti-African. They really hold on to this idea that there's some pure Black American race. And I got some bad news for them. All right. African people all across especially in the United States, they were bought and sold like cattle. They were driven from place to place to pick crops that were necessary. You might have some Black people in Carolina picking rice. You might have some Black people in Virginia picking cotton. You might have them down, and then you might say, for example, you're a planter who's French. You might take your slaves to New Orleans. You might bring them down to Saint Domingue to cut sugar cane. So there's a lot of mixture, right, between Black people in the Caribbean, Black people in Latin America, Black people in the United States. We were all jumbled up and mixed together. So this idea that there's a unique Black American race that only came into existence once Black Americans, and that no other people, no other Africans had any type of influence, is just complete ahistorical nonsense. There was a time when African slaves in America, if they were rebellious, they were sent to Barbados as punishment. Okay, these white people, it's so crazy. This is what happened when you listen to a high school dropout like Tariq Nasheed, because he's stupid as hell. I'm mad we're even sit up here and even having this discussion. All right, there's plenty of cross pollination. All right, from different African cultures. Right, if you're taking from, so we can acknowledge Black American influence in rock and roll and hip hop and funk and soul and R&B and all of that stuff. And it's so good because we all come from the same place, and that's Africa. That's where our ancestors come from. So to me, it's good that we can have acknowledgement that, hey, we heard some music from you guys, we like it. We hear some music, and you guys, you like it. And the thing that kills me about this conversation, right? We're so focused on who originated hip hop. At the end of the day, who cares? Because at the end of the day, the Jews got it now. So whether it was Black Americans or Jamaicans or um, other influences, right? It doesn't really matter because we don't have control over it anymore. We might have originated, but we lost it. We don't have any control over that. People, I don't know who's this. Reggae comes from Jamaica. Um, do you not realize that reggae artists were listening to Black American music, and that's what helped influence reggae? Like, what are we talking about here? We're so focused on these individual islands, right? That we don't realize that our origin, it all comes from the same place. It's Africa. So these musical traditions that became soca in Trinidad, reggae in Jamaica, hip hop in America, the original musical traditions come from Africa. That is the source. And once it left Africa, brought here through the slave trade, it manifested itself in different forms. But the root of the tree is still from Africa. And it's really crazy to me how we let this clown come on here and sow discord. When in reality, it's a psyop. He this man flip flops and goes back and forth. First, he's wearing dashikis, he's going to Africa. Then he's talking stuff about Africans. Then he's there. We're really indigenous people. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing? I'm done. Thanks.
Appreciate that, Black Steel. I just want to say a shout out to American Soul. I don't know if I shouted you out earlier. If I didn't, I apologize. But American Soul says, dude, he says this to Black Steel, you're off topic and sound pseudo. There's no African in hip hop, no language. The thing about the African influence is that it's not the language that's the influence. It's the drums that's the influence.
He's literally dumb as fuck. I don't know who this guy is.
It's the drums that's the influence. It's when you look at when you study African music, you study polyrhythms in drums and in the music overall, and that's what happens in hip hop. Hip hop music is because of the drum. That's the real connection. The other connection is because of the chanting. So earlier, I think American Soul was the one who said something like, "Show me someone who was rapping in patois, in Jamaican patois." I'll tell you something. Yeah, 6/8 music is what Jay Dilla uses all the time because he understood that connection to African music. By the way, but real talk, Jamaicans had that hip hop shit, that rapping stuff. We call it chatting, but Jamaicans had that long ago. Yeah, people call it toasting as well. Jose, they had that long ago, long time ago. And as a matter of fact, it's a part of that call and response, like Anthony McPhail just said. But as a matter of fact, I remember being small, and we kind of hated that about Jamaican music because it was like, dude, can you stop talking over the beat? Like, let's open up the beat. Let's open up the music. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's been going on, and I'm not saying this to wrestle a Black American music away from Black Americans. No, what I'm trying to say is that we all influence one another. And my only thing with Fat Joe is I don't think hip hop comes out of Puerto Rico. Now, if you want to say there was some Afro Puerto Ricans involved early on, I would say, okay, cool. I can see that. I can see some black fellows who you had no clue was Puerto Rican. I could see them being involved, but to say it came out of Puerto Rico in any way, I would say that's bullshit. So this is not about wrestling it away from African Americans. As Black Steel said, the real problem is you have to talk about who has wrestled it away from African Americans. Who's making the money off of it, right? But as far as origins go, I'm sure it was a mix of black folks, Americanized Caribbean folks, African folks, and Black Americans, period. American Soul is telling me to stop it. I will not stop it because I know what I'm telling you.
This dude's a troll, man. Block him, man. Get him out of here. He's a troll. God damn.
No, we shouldn't block him because I have
That's your cousin or something? He sounds like you.
All right, okay. I have a video where the pioneer of Jamaican music said they got. Let me finish, guy.
I want to go.
They said,
yeah, but I ain't speak yet though, Brazili.
Hold on. Zulism, finish your point, and then Buana, I'll give you all the time.
Yo, you said I have a video. I'm gonna send to you, Goku. You're gonna watch it. The pioneer of reggae music and of the DJing say they got toasting from American DJs. That toasting thing you're talking about, they said they got that from Americans, from Black Americans, out of their own mouth. I'm just saying, I understand what you're saying, Goku. We all influence it. But yo, bro, what I'm saying, give the African Americans, it's their shit. We came in, yes, we participated, we contributed very well. By we, I'm not even saying Haitian people, I'm saying other Caribbean people like Jamaicans, Bahamians, all of that, yes. But yo, let's leave it at that. It wasn't us. Go ahead, Buana.
Go ahead, Buana.
I appreciate you Razuli for letting me speak because his artist is compa artist, so he don't have no stake in this conversation at all because he don't know anything about hip hop.
Brother.
Stick to compa. Anyways, let me say it like this. Tariq Nasheed himself said on a post prior to 2018 that hip hop was started by a man from Jamaica named Kool Herc. He stated that, the leader of FBA. Now his position has moved, but that's what he originally stated as a historian. He stated that. But needless to say, um, Erzuli say, name a rapper or a person who was doing this whole hip hop stuff uh, before the Americans. Now I may not be able to name that person, but what I can do is name you a character by the name of Uroy. Uroy. Look him up. Just look him up when you have time. And he was doing that prior to people getting on a microphone over music, rhyming and stuff like that. He was doing that prior to that, prior to 1973 and stuff like that. You know, the music go back. When Erzuli talks about sound systems and where that comes from, he asks for specific evidence. And I like that. I like that. This is one of the things I like about Erzuli, because he asks you to point me to. So what I have done is I'm gonna point you to a name of a person. One of the person's name is Dr. Derek Cologne, right on YouTube right now. He's a historian. He talks about a lot of these kinds of things in terms, and he speaks to a lot of these original artists, people who go back in the Bronx, because he's from the Bronx. So he kind of like was there when a lot of this stuff was happening, and he spoke to many of the artists and the musicians back in that time. He's speaking to them now, right now, and he's put it on film. In fact, he had a debate with Tariq Nasheed. Tariq Nasheed tries to get away from him a lot, and he tries to not expose the general public to people like himself, like this particular gentleman. Well, one of the things that he did is he created a documentary after Tariq Nasheed's documentary called The Latin Breakdown. Now, if you go into the private chat, I posted it. It's free. You could watch it on YouTube and decide for yourself. Decide for yourself whether uh, Puerto Ricans were not integral in the production of the music, in the dances, in the art form itself, I know the narrative is because you may have watched Tariq Nasheed's documentary and gotten information from those particular individuals, but I like to be well rounded in my information and where I receive the information from. So there must be a reason why Fat Joe is making these kinds of comments and commentaries. So Dr. Derek Cologne, he goes back and he interviews people and he shows the musicians all of that good stuff. It's a free documentary. I posted in a private chat, and you could watch it. It's probably for an hour and 30 minutes. And all the questions in terms of why are these Puerto Ricans trying to include themselves into this whole hip hop situation, it answers those questions line for line for line. And the only thing I would challenge you is, just as you ask for evidence, sit down and observe the evidence, and you decide for yourself whether the evidence is credible or it's nonsense. Decide for yourself. But all I would say is, Tariq Nasheed said himself where hip hop came from. Now he's changing the narrative for various different reasons. Various different reasons. Tariq Nasheed also he's from Alabama. He's from imagine somebody from Puerto Rico telling me about rake and scrape. That's an insult. But rake and scrape is a genre of Bahamian music. But needless to say, I just think that just as Erzuli asked for the evidence, this is what I have given to him in that documentary in terms of this Puerto Rican question, and he could decide for himself and determine whether what he sees is truthful or it's just madness, and all these Puerto Rican and Spanish people are lying. And Lord Jamadam, and Tariq Nasheed are telling the absolute truth. He could decide that for himself. Thank you, Coco. Thank you, Razuli, for giving me the time.
No problem. In the chat, TriggerHappy262 Plus also posted a Camjaverse link you guys could check out. American Soul mentions the Jubilaires in 1940. Again, this is my opinion of the topic. I am not trying to say at all that the Puerto Ricans who look like Fat Joe especially, were the face of, is the face of, or will ever be the face of hip hop. I'm not saying that they are the originators either, because I don't really hear too much of their stylings in early hip hop, of their indigenous music stylings in early hip hop, except to say the African aspect of their music is in hip hop, and that can't be denied by African Soul or anyone else out there. But what no one has answered the question to yet is, how come for 45 of the 51 years of hip hop, it's been understood that a Jamaican guy is the originator of hip hop, right? Or at least one of the 5 elements of hip hop. Like, that was never argued before. And I'm saying in 1974, some people should have been arguing that point. Whenever that narrative started off, some people should have been arguing and pushing back against it. I'm asking Azuli and American Soul and others to tell me, why was that not pushed back against for all these years? In fact, I'll give Azuli a chance to respond to that here. Azuli, what say you?
Because first of all, I grew up in Brooklyn too. I've never heard where they say Jamaican invented hip hop. I've heard they say they took part of it. I've never heard that. And number two, maybe during that time why it was never brought up is because it didn't it it didn't make it didn't come out like, I think the people acknowledged that Jamaican people took part of hip hop. They weren't saying out loud that they created hip hop. I never heard Busta Rhymes say that until recently. Not only did Busta Rhymes was disrespectful, he said that Black American don't have culture. So I've never heard, as I was growing up in Brooklyn, I never heard that they said Jamaican started hip hop. So I heard that they participated because a lot of the hip hoppers at the time, they have Jamaican backgrounds. They have all of that backgrounds, yes. So why would they push back against it if maybe now they feel like they are being pushed out because Busta Rhymes said Jamaicans started hip hop. So and this guy comes up, Fat Joe, talk about, Fat Joe, shut up. Your parents was probably telling you not to hang out with those black kids that you claim that you was there with. And a lot of us Caribbean people, our parents used to tell us not to intimidate, not to imitate those Black Americans. So how the hell did you start hip hop? And when I put that video, that means his last name says everything. Colon, he's Hispanic. The video that I got that talk about hip hop was not even from. It was not even from Tariq Nasheed. It was from other people doing the groundwork, interviewing the people, the kids that were there back in the days. So when hip hop got the machine behind it, all of a sudden, all the Latinos were in there. Latinos that look like Fat Joe. So if that's the case, I'm asking, out of the top 20 hip rap artists, how come I've never seen one Latino that's in the top 20?
Yeah.
Go ahead. They invented it. Where are they?
Yeah, I mean, again, we're not talking about, Latinos have nothing to do with it. Like I said, if he's talking about black, Afro Puerto Ricans, I would understand it more. But Latinos themselves didn't have nothing to do with it. There's no sign. There's nothing in hip hop that says Latino, right? Except if you talk about the African drum.
But
Cheryl in the chat,
Go ahead.
uh,
Sorry.
one quick second. Cheryl in the chat says, "Why does no other Caribbean music genre get its pushback?" And I'll answer that. I'll tell you, it's because that is not profitable. Black Americans look at Caribbean music as shit. I've heard it said, and this is not to push no divide, but I've heard them say, "Yeah, we don't really rock with that shit."
Ouch.
Right? It's not profitable. But if Caribbean music became
Oh, they
profitable,
have a right to. They have a right to.
if Caribbean music became profitable, trust me, Black Americans will also be there talking about, well, Fats Domino influenced ska, which influenced reggae and this, that, and the other. It's just not profitable. But Buana says they have a right to. Let me hear from Buana and then back to Azulism.
Right to like or hate whatever music that they want to. Music is subjective. They don't have to like Caribbean music. The Caribbean artists, not you know what our largest audiences are? It's in Europe and Africa and the Caribbean. They the reggae has not what is crossed over into black music. Black music have their own type of genre of music and what they like to listen to, and it's very fine that they don't have to like Caribbean. I like Caribbean music and I can listen to it all day. Whereas some Black Americans, I hate this all in thing. Because, Black Steve was just telling me he was listening to Buju Banton the other day. And the hell what I talking about? But some Black Americans don't listen to reggae music. Some Black Americans don't listen to the blues, and that's invented by Black Americans. So what are we talking about here? Music is subjective, and they could have their own philosophy. I think that some hip hop music is a bunch of bullshit too. You know what I mean? Some genres of hip hop I can't stand listening to. I can't stand listening. One of my favorite genre of music, even in terms of Black American music, even hip hop, is actually the blues. So I understand that they have their right to appreciate and like what they like, and so do I, and so does the rest of the Caribbean as well. So they have a right to do that, man. Bless them for doing that. That's where I stand with that.
If I may add, is so Ursuli, you grew up in Brooklyn, right? So you have heard hundreds of hip hop tracks paying respect to the pioneers, and I don't need to mention the names they mention. Just go and listen to like hip hop from the 80s, 90s. I mean, uh, what are we talking about? If the rappers themselves on their tracks pay contribute to Kool Herc, what is the discussion about?
Jose, the discussion is really about anti-Africanness, is what it's really about, right? That's really what the truth of the matter is. The fact of the matter is every genre of music created by Black people in diaspora is influenced by African people. So when we could talk about how DJ Kool Herc created the breaks and using the two turntables to extend the breaks in the song, he came up with this technique. That's not to say he created hip hop, right? Because he was a DJ, but he used like funk records from James Brown, right? So you have one genre of music, of Black American music, funk music, soul music, all of these having African influence. So since he's able to use this, he's considered to be one of the founders of hip hop. Not to say that a Jamaican actually founded it, right? But to say that his work helped influence and help get the musical genre started. Again, there's a lot of cross pollination in all these art forms. You can even look at Afrobeat, which is kind of big now, right? Afrobeat, you can say Afrobeat is influenced by hip hop, right? You wouldn't say Black America started Afrobeat, but you can definitely hear the hip hop influence that is in Afrobeat music. And that's all anybody's saying. It's to me, it's the idea that you want to exclude any other type of influence except Black Americans. Like Black Americans are just in like a snow globe, and that no other influence of African people is on the music, and that's just not true.
I'm going to say something more controversial. Y'all keep saying that the African drums are part of the hip hop. I don't hear no drums. Which drums are we talking about?
Polyrhythms. Polyrhythms, African polyrhythms are prevalent in hip hop.
But you said the drums. I don't hear no drums in the hip hop beats.
Yes, it is. The what Black Americans use is the set drums. It's the set drums. So that those match up those set drums with African music and it matches.
I don't. Well, we have different ears, but okay, if you say that, fine. Even Buju had an interview calling out these Latinos for trying to steal reggae. So if Buju, a reggae artist, complain about them trying to take reggae because they put a little ting ting in it, now they call it reggaeton. If he could complain about that, I'm watching Fat Joe with a side eye. And again, Buana said Tariq Nasheed said it was invented by whatever. Maybe he didn't do the research properly at the time, and maybe he didn't do the research, and maybe during his documentary he discovered more research. But like I said, I'm gonna find the video. I'm gonna send it to Goku, and those videos that is a 2-hour video of people interviewing different people from the Caribbean and from America, talking about how hip hop started, and even Cool Herc. The breaks, other DJs were doing that before Cool Herc. And again,
Can you name any? Can you name any besides DJ Go Herc?
I don't know them by head, but in the video that I have, they mentioned other people was doing the breaks. What was that? DJ Hollywood. There was a guy named DJ Hollywood that was from Manhattan. He was doing the shit. So Cool Herc's got props for it. We're not taking anything. But yo, let's stop. Yo, why is it? So what's his name? Africa Bambaataa. They say African Bambaataa is not is his parents are from the Bahamas or whatever. What's the other one? There's another one.
Flash, Grandmaster Flash.
Grandmaster Flash. I don't know if they were born in a different country, but at the end of the day, what you said?
I believe he's from Grenada.
Okay, so the Americans are not saying that there was no influence from different people, different culture. What they're saying is that the starter was here in America, was the black youth in America that started the DJing, the breakdancing, and the graffiti. So show me the graffiti that was in Puerto Rico. Show me the breakdancing that Puerto Ricans that look like Fat Joe were doing. Show it to me.
Not, but Razuli, you're not talking about Puerto Ricans from Puerto Rico. You're talking about Puerto Ricans who came to New York City and who are Puerto Rican New York people. These are two different kinds of people. So of course the culture is going to be a little bit different.
No. If a Puerto Rican traveled from Puerto Rico, that means he was listening to music from his parents. He was looking at dancing from his parents. That should influence him to bring that part into the culture.
But he is also hearing music.
Made it into the culture.
But he is also hearing music from the country that he is actually in as well. So he's hearing two genres of music, and he's coming up with something different and unique.
No. So bullshit. You know what? I'm gonna use Wyclef. If you listen to Wyclef's album, the Carnival, you're gonna hear the Haitian influence and the American influence. So don't give me, show me the Caribbean, show me the Puerto Rican influence in hip hop. Their sound.
This is the reason why. This is the reason why. Give me 1 second, Jose. This is the reason why I give you that documentary, to show you exactly what I'm talking about, because you're asking specifically for questions, so for answers to specific questions that I give you. I'm telling you, if Coco give you that documentary, the Latin breakdown, it explains in detail exactly what you're talking about. But let me also say this: as far as reggaeton, I don't understand how Buju Banton complain about reggae. Reggaeton is just one beat. Reggaeton is one. There's a beat which Shabba Ranks came up with a song called Dem Bow, Dem Bow, Dem Bow, Dem. That beat, that's the whole of reggaeton. That's the whole of reggaeton. But go ahead, bro. Go ahead, go ahead.
To be honest, the Panamanian was the one that studied that shit with El General. So reggaeton is not even from Puerto Rico.
You know, if I may add something, so I grew up in the Netherlands, right? And I got in contact. I got baptized. A word that I used earlier. I got baptized by hip hop, right? And I'm here in this port city called Rotterdam. Here in the Netherlands, Rotterdam is like you know, like the core of hip hop here. You know, this city gets lots of respect since get go. But anyway, so I get in contact. I get to hear hip hop here in Rotterdam, the Netherlands, right? What different am I to a black American in Los Angeles hearing hip hop for the first time? Tell me, Houston, wherever, you know, Seattle. What is the difference between me and a brother in Seattle that heard hip hop for the first time in the 80s? What's the difference? You're speaking, by the way, you are speaking with the producer of the first ever Cape Verdean hip hop project, by the way. What is the difference between me and the brother in Seattle?
So you can respond to Jose. Give
I
you
don't
guys
understand.
last comments, and then we'll call this a episode wrap. All right. Go
I don't
ahead,
understand.
Azul.
I don't understand what is he saying. The difference between him and the brother, and the difference is maybe the brother in Houston or in California got it firsthand than you. I don't understand the question Jose is trying to say. I don't understand it. If you could repeat it so I could get a clear understanding of what he's trying to ask.
I got in contact with hip hop in like 83, 84. Curtis Blow, Schoolie D, LL Cool J, LL Cool J with his radio, and and what is the difference between me and a brother in Seattle getting in contact with those names? Curtis Blow, LL Cool J, Schoolie D.
The difference is some of those brothers might have actually lived in that neighborhood around LL Cool J. They have might live all the song, all the things that those guys are singing about in the song. You didn't. That's the difference. So a Kumo D or Curtis Blow, some of the songs that they were singing represented some of their lives. That didn't represent yours. It could have been similar. You might have experienced a similar thing, but you're not. You wasn't in America during those times. So I think that's the difference. So LL Cool J, with the big radio on his shoulder, did you experience that when you was at? Because when I was in my country, we only saw that from Americans, and then we started imitating that in the Caribbean. So that could be a main difference, that some of those songs actually reflected what people in that area lived. You wasn't there.
Any other last thoughts
I
on this
think that
topic?
I think that yes, I think that music is not we are trying to sector music and put it in one little small space, whereas I think that as far as culturally and musically, all of us was inspired by one another. And I think that African Americans beautifully in it was create many genres of music that many people loved and were inspired by, and I appreciate that style of music. I don't take away from that. Sometimes though, it seems like the idea is that the Caribbean didn't have no music until we was just waiting until the great Black Americans invented music, and then we just copied their music in our own form and fashion. No, we had our own genres of music as well. We had our own styles of music as well. People say, "Oh, what was y'all doing?" There are many genres of music. Many. Do you know there are many genres of music throughout the African diaspora? Many, and many of us were inspired by the different genres of music. So I think it's unfair. I appreciate the genre of hip hop. Even though I don't listen to it too much, but I appreciate it for what it is. I don't think that this is a huge issue. If the Black Americans want to delineate and protect American thing or whatever, I don't think that's possible. I don't think that's possible at this point. But I think that if they want to do that, they are fine to do that. You know what I mean? But I think that music is not racialized, and you can't pin music into one specific category. It's always going to be shared among people, even black people and white people. And white people, with all this delineation going on, I wonder when FBA will finally delineate from the white man. That's the question I have for them. When will you all want to delineate from the black world? Fine. But when will you all also delineate from? No, it's true. It's true. When will you all delineate from the white man?
That's never happened. They
When are y'all
love
gonna
white daddy.
delineate from him? That's a question I have for them. But needless to say, I wish
No,
them well. I wish them well. But
the one,
I'm just really just mad because his hip hop hero is Wyclef Jean, and Wyclef Jean right now he has no music out there, so he's just a little bit angry about that. So I'll leave it there though.
so you're gonna say when will FBA delineate from? When will you Caribbeans delineate from that same person that you claim to? You're acting like you're so different from the FBA. Yeah, the same. What are we talking about? So and a lot of maybe the reason why Black Americans are
How do you want us to delineate? How do you want us to delineate? How do you want us to delineate?
no, you the one that's saying, oh, when will FBA delineate from the white man or whatever? Are you delineating from them? Your whole government is run by them. What are you talking about?
That's my government. Do I operate under my government? This is the problem with sometimes the mistake sometimes people make. People think that because the leaders do something, the people do it as well. That is the only time I see that is what I've heard FBA do is pirate the president of the United States or Donald Trump
Yes,
in particular. This whole thing is shithole countries that wasn't in black people's mouths until Donald Trump said it. And then they started hearing it getting pirated by black people. I'm saying, why would you pirate Donald Trump? Needless to say, if I pirate someone, it probably look just like me. I'm not gonna pirate a white racist about other black people in other black countries, and then that same president say, I prefer European immigration into my country. So the black countries and shithole countries and the European country, because I've never heard FBA criticize immigration from a European state or country. They only criticize and call shithole countries to black countries. They pirating Donald Trump. You don't hear no Caribbean person I ever heard say some shit like that. You know what I mean?
let
But
me ask you,
needless to say,
let me
it's
ask you
good
a
for
question,
them.
Luana. You believe in the out of Africa?
Sure.
You believe in the out of Africa theory?
Yes, sir.
Who taught you that?
Oh, for fuck's sake! Here we go again
Who
with this
taught me that?
bullshit.
Yeah.
No. I go off of the best evidence.
Oh, who
So
gave you
the
those best
best
evidence?
evidence that I researched.
Who gave you those best evidence? The
I don't.
same people you
What?
claim that the FBA need to delineate from. So you still rocking with that man that you
So,
talk about as your enemy.
but Azu, But
So stop it.
but Azuli, hear me out. Hear me out for 1 second. Hear me out for 1 second. Do you think that only white men have the outer Africa theory, brother? Don't you know the Chinese do and the Indians do, and
Show me the
it's
African that
called the
says that.
scientific
Show
community.
me the
The
African that
science,
says that.
the
You're a
scientific.
liar. All these people,
There's a man named there's a man named Shakanta Diop, bro. You know who he is?
all these people have learned it from the man that you telling FBA to delineate from.
That is
All of
not
Brother,
them.
do you think
Rasul,
that
that
the
is not true,
intelligence?
Razuli.
Do you think?
That's not true.
Do you think that intelligence? Do you think that intelligence only came in the world by the white man? You don't think the black man had some
My
thoughts of his
guy,
own?
everything they told you, all of a
No,
This
sudden,
is a serious
answer his
question, bro.
question. Answer his question, because every time we had this
Yeah,
conversation,
this is a
you
serious
make it
question.
seem like black people
what
don't
is the
know anything
what is the
unless white
question?
people tell us, bro.
What is the
Answer the
question?
question.
I didn't hear
Do you
what's the
think white people
question.
have a monopoly on intellect?
Say that again.
Do you think white people have the monopoly on intellect? Yes or no?
No, they don't have a
Okay,
monopoly.
so you mean to tell me black people cannot reason out the fact that Africa is the origin of humanity?
Nah, they were told that. Y'all don't
Oh,
know that. Y'all
wow.
don't know that.
Wow. Okay.
Y'all don't
Okay.
know that. Y'all were told that. Y'all don't know that. Y'all were told that. So stop it. What I'm
The
saying is,
Europeans
So
are the
black
bringers.
people can't be
The
archaeologists?
Europeans are the bringer of light. The Europeans are the bringer of light.
I
No
didn't
problem.
say
No
that.
problem. I
I'm
just
just,
wanted to check.
I'm
That's
saying that.
exactly what you say.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you telling the FBA to delineate from those people, and you're not delineating from the history that that man taught you.
So
The
what history
evolution,
do you
the
have an
evolution theory,
do you
the
have
out
an
of
alternative history,
the out
Razuli,
of
that you'd like to
Africa
share?
theory, the out of Africa theory, all of that was taught to you by the European.
So do you have an
but
alternative
what if
history
I
you'd like to share? And if you do,
but
what
what if I
methodologies? Hold on, Buana. If you have an alternative history that you'd like to share, and would you like to share your methodology with us, please?
No, your mind is
Shut the
already
fuck up.
corrupted,
Shut the
brother.
fuck
Your
up. You
mind
know
is
what I'm
already
talking about.
corrupted. Your mind is already. All I'm saying is back to what this thing was about is that I'm I'm rocking with the black, not personally the FBA and the way they're thinking. I'm just saying that hip hop came from the blacks over here. So stop acting like oh yeah, just because you influenced it that you created it. You didn't create it. If you did, I would find that in your culture and Haitian culture and Jamaican culture and Bahamian culture. Show me y'all rapping before the African Americans were doing it.
I pointed to a man named Uroy.
He
The
was
brother in
not.
the chat pointed to
He's
a
not.
man named King.
So
I pointed
he
to
was.
a man named Uroy.
So you
The
say
man in the chat pointed to a man named King Stitchy. What you want me to say, bro? If I point you to the things that you asking me, I giving you information and evidence to, and you dismiss it and say it ain't that.
you said.
What else you want me to give you, brother?
Come on, Boana. You said there was a guy from which country? From your country?
From Jamaica. The genre of music used to be called toasting. We just was talking about it,
Oh,
and
bro,
I
I'm
told you
telling you,
that
they got
you say
toasted
name.
from
You say
America.
name. No,
They got
hear me out.
toasted
Hear
from
me out.
America.
Hear me out, brother. You say who's they? Who's they?
The
Who's
guy
they?
you talking about toasting came from the DJ discos in America. The disco DJs.
Bro, how is it that I'm a black American born in America and you coming at this harder than I am? What is going on right now?
Because you on that kumbaya shit that you don't want to delineate certain shit. I'm not on that.
Why do you want to delineate? What's wrong with you, man?
It's okay to delineate. There's nothing wrong with that.
Are you listen?
There's
Are
nothing
you
wrong
not
to,
Haitian?
there's nothing wrong to
You're
say.
Haitian, right? Right, Azuli?
Yes, there's nothing
Okay,
wrong.
so what are you talking about? You
There's
talking about
nothing.
like Tariq Nasheed don't talk about you guys. He call you Haitians everything but a child of God. What are we talking about?
I'm not, bro. I'm not coming. I'm not defending Tariq Nasheed. I'm talking about hip hop, my guy. I don't care what Tariq Nasheed said. I'm not. I'm not. Did you hear me defend Tariq Nasheed?
So
All I'm
Razuli,
saying.
okay, all I'm saying is this, right? As a black American, I can acknowledge, right, that hip hop origins have multiple influences that come from the African diaspora. That's all I'm saying. And I think we're saying the same thing too.
I could agree with you. I could agree with you that hip hop was influenced by the African culture. But what I'm saying is that might be different from what you're saying is that with the African influence, the Black Americans in America studied it first. That's what I'm saying. So that's
Beautiful. They started it first. Beautiful.
just like Aki and Saltfish. You think I could go as a Haitian person? You think Jamaican would let me get away with it? Talking about, oh, Haitian came with Aki and Saltfish? You think a Haitian will let the Jamaican come talk about, oh, they created black rice? No, you gotta respect people when they created something. That's it. You think you think Haitian people? You think Guadeloupe? I have a friend. He's from Guadeloupe. Whenever he goes to, he's here now. Whenever they play Zouk music and he hear Haitian people say, "Oh, that's Haitian music," he don't like that. Even though Zouk was really influenced by compa. So I'm just saying, whether or not we like it or not, yo, you gotta give props to where the thing originated, and that's it. And I think I think that's what Lord Jamal is talking about. And I'm not trying to defend Tariq Nasheed's BS. I'm mostly, if I were to use an example, maybe Lord Jamal. That's what he's saying. So everything stuck, yo, it's just like you think the Nubians don't want to give credit for studying the pyramids? You think they just want to give it to somebody else? So
I hear you, bro. I hear you, Zuli. But I want you. Let me just interrupt for a second, just for a second. But when you talk about this whole, sometimes when you say some things like, it sounds to me like black people don't think without the instructions of white people. It sounds like that. I don't know if you're saying that or not. But when you talk about his history and things of that nature, that is bothering to me, bro. Because it's like you say, like the black man don't have a brain. Some black men have a brain, and some black men think too. And we observe the observable world in a scientific and an analytical way too. And I understand the white man has written down all his lies in history books and things of that nature, but there are other people in the world that I can tell you about too. You know, who ain't European? Who ain't European? They've written down notes too. The Muslims have done it. You know what I mean? The Chinese have done it. The Indians have done it. There's other histories in the world that exist that confirms what you say I learned from the white man, and to think that I even the Africans as well. So for you to say that I learned all the information I learned from the white man is unfortunate, but give me a little bit more credit than that, bro, because that ain't always true. Not
bro,
always true.
we
Not always
when I
true.
say we, it's all of us. The evolution theory, the out of Africa theory, the what is it? The Bang theory. All of that was started. The theory of gravity. All of that was by the Euros, and that's all you guys regurgitate. So what are we
No,
saying?
but Erzuli, gravity was here before. Gravity was here before Isaac Newton. Write it down in the book. You don't think a black man observed the observable world and say what goes up must
Show
come
it to
now?
me.
You
Show it
don't
to me.
think that that happened way before Isaac Newton?
Show it to me. Show it to
Oh,
me.
so because it wasn't written in the book,
Show it to me.
because it wasn't written in the book, I have to attribute that thinking to Isaac Newton in Europe a couple
Who
hundred
taught you
years
that?
ago.
Who taught you all these things? You're laughing.
What?
Zulu, you definitely that Zuli's that kid in my class, bro. Like standing, why are we learning this? That's you, Zuli. That is you. I'm definitely calling home.
Well, I'm just saying, bro. Let's give people their props. And even if the Jamaicans and the Puerto Ricans have a great influence, yo, if the Black Americans want to fight for it, yo, who are we? And hip hop today is trash to be and thing. Hip hop is drill music now. So now we're gonna say now who invented drill music?
Nah, they can have that.
So that's what I'm saying. Can we say hip hop birthed drill music? Yeah, everything. So what I'm saying is, once this guy is talking about all this, then Fat Joe, yo, show me the other music that the Puerto Ricans came with in America that took off, besides what they just said. Show me the music. Because we could go and say that drill music came out of where there's other type of music that came out of that. Show me. But at the end of the day, I'm saying, yo, I'm not trying to
Yeah,
say
but
that.
you don't even speak Spanish. You wouldn't even know if I do you speak Spanish, bro?
Why would I speak that? No, I don't.
So if when you say show me the music that was popping by these people like Puerto Ricans and Dominicans and shit like that, they have their own brand of music that's very popular among them. You ever consider that?
Yeah, and I listen.
We
If
just talking about hip hop. Hip hop is just one genre of music. I'm saying that they have their own great music. The Haitians have the most. For me, some of the most beautiful music in the world is Haitian music. That's a genre of music that's created by Haitians. The world don't know that about that yet. Only few
yo,
people, maybe in the
what?
Caribbean, know about Haitian music.
But why not? What I'm saying is that show me in America a new type of music that the Puerto Ricans invented. I'm not talking about and the
I understand. I
I'm
understand.
not, I'm not talking about in Puerto Rico. I'm not talking about in the Dominican Republic. I know every country they change the music. Every new generation brings a different type of music. I'm saying if they invented hip hop, show me another type of music that they invented in America. That's what I'm saying.
Well, this was a very good conversation. If anyone has any last thoughts on the convo, please state them now. If not, let's get to some shout outs this week as this is the last topic of the night. So, is there any last comments on this conversation? All right, let's do the shout outs then. So, everyone who's in the panel, please stick around for the shout outs. Zulius, I'm going to start with you. What would you like to shout out this week?
Yo, I want to shout out you, Koku, for keeping this podcast alive, for keep doing it every Saturday. Even though sometimes I don't come up and I don't participate as much as I used to, I commend you for keep going and having these difficult conversations that we have within the community or outside of the community. So, and shout out to all the people, Black Steel, Boana, all the other people that be hating on me because they always come in and support and they have the discussion. So, shout out to all of y'all for participating in another year, 2024. So, hopefully, 2025 will continue. That's all.
Appreciate that, Zuli. With that said, let's hear from Black Steel. What would you like to shout out this week?
Let's see. Let me shout out. Um, we got one more show right before the end of the year. We got one more show. So I want to shout out all the people we lost in 2024. Man, we lost a lot of good people this year. So we shout out, from entertainers and singers, just actors, and we just lost a lot of famous people. Quincy Jones and James Earl Jones, and we just lost a lot of people. So shout out to them.
Yeah, and shout out to people we lost in other parts of the African world too, as well. Thanks for that, Black Steel. Let me hear from Marcus Gaviers Dewey. If you're still there, what would you like to shout out this week? You'll have to unmute your mic if you're still there. All right, maybe Marcus Gaviers Dewey is not here. Jose, what would you like to shout out this week?
Shout out to my friends from either the sky or the bottom of the ocean. The UAP UFO they came out en masse, trying to say hello to you all. Nah, bullshit. Yeah, shout out to you. Shout out to black people pulling the black card in the right direction. So yeah, that's it. Actually,
Appreciate that, Jose. Bueno, what would you like to shout out this week?
Shout out to all my brothers. This is like almost the end of the year. So shout out to all my good brothers and sisters who have hung in there, as Razuli was saying, and we've been practicing a lot of consistency. It says a whole lot about our mindset and what we kind of interested in. Shout out to us having difficult discussions, as we really say, from time to time. It's good to have difficult discussions. It's good to disagree from time to time. It's good to challenge each other from time to time. That only makes us better, and hopefully the new year we'll come back better than ever, and have display a lot more positivity, and oh, shout out to my brother Anthony as well. He's always there. Hopefully he gets on in the new year. We'll get him a laptop so he can get on get on the internet, so he can have a conversation, because I really value his contributions. But like I say, shout out to all the brothers and sisters who contributed tonight, and I hope everyone as well. Y'all be safe, and y'all try to see the new year. You know what I mean? Don't drink too much rum. Whoever the smokers are, y'all be easy on the smoking, and let's make it to the new year in a healthy way and in a positive way. I'll leave it there.
Don't tell me what to do.
Don't tell me what to do. Uh, shout outs to all of you guys, man, who make it worthwhile coming through, even though the numbers don't.
Especially you, teacher. You don't need to be drinking no rum or smoking no dope.
Heaven
Yeah.
forbid.
Shout out to all of you guys who make it worthwhile coming through every week and having these discussions. Shout out to you guys too who don't celebrate these people's holidays, and I see you guys here with me as well. We'll be back next week, same time, same place, 8 to 11 p.m. or so, Eastern Standard Time. Let me just say this too, man. It's all love here. You could be a black Brit, you could be a black Caribbean, you could be black American, you could be black African. It's all love. These are sometimes we have some difficult conversations, but it's not about hate. It's not about segregation of any kind, and it's definitely not about delineation. So I hope to see you guys here with us again next week. Until then, you guys be good. Peace.